What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Making the turn on this work week of ours. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. If it's on those radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM, online, you can stream it up. SportsTalk1051.com. You got your Alexa, Google devices, the app, download it, take it on to go. Video stream also up and rolling right now on YouTube, multiple ways for you to be tuning in. That Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Hit us up with some messages, 715-830-1912. But a very happy Wednesday to you all. What do we have on our game plan for us this morning? Baseball. World Baseball Classic Championship last night. Venezuela with a 3-2 victory over Team USA to capture the title. Venezuela jumped out to an early 1-0 lead through 3, tacked on a solo shot in the 5th. Bryce Harper ties it up in the bottom of the 8th, but Venezuela able to hit a go-ahead RBI double in the top of the 9th, and that was enough for Team Venezuela to capture the title. So it's wrapped up. World Baseball Classic in the books, and now we've got opening day coming your way next week. If you watched any of these games, watch the World Baseball Classic, your thoughts, your analysis, your input. If Rob Manfred, commissioner of Major League Baseball, called you up, sent you a text and said, hey, give us some feedback. What'd you think? What would you tell him? I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was highly entertaining. The thing is, like, when it comes to these type of events, tournaments, games, or whatever, the biggest thing for me as a fan, I want to know I want to tell, and we can tell as fans, but are the players buying in? You know, we talk about it a lot with all-star games, right? Are the players buying in? The players from, doesn't matter what team, country, I mean, Team USA, you could tell, was taking it really serious, and I would argue like every country was. These players bought in. They 100% bought in. It turned into a great product on the field. It turned into entertaining games, and it was a home run. No pun intended. But fantastic. Fantastic. Highly entertaining, and it's a perfect prelude to the upcoming baseball season. I think so, at least. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Throughout the whole thing, the environment, the intro last night with both teams coming on the field, carrying the flags, spotlight, well done. Pat yourselves on the back, tip of the cap to everybody involved in the World Baseball Classic. So, but your thoughts on it, let me know. Hit me up. We're going to talk some Brewers baseball here, as well as now we kind of shift our gears back to spring training with the last few games on the docket here. Brewers will be back at it today. Not sure when, Churio and Terang and Contreras and such are going to be back in the lineups here for the Brewers, and that probably give them a little bit in that. But nonetheless, we're going to continue our countdown here for what I think, in my opinion, is the most critical, most pivotal Brewers people for this upcoming season in terms of the Brewers' overall success in getting back to the postseason, perhaps even winning their division. So we've already selected Sal Frelick, Brandon Woodruff, Andrew Vaughn, who's going to be in number 7 today. So baseball talk coming up here in just a little bit this morning. Hoops-wise, we got our first couple games in for the play-in tournament. Texas picking up the win. Howard picking up the win. So they will be in action on Friday and such. We've got two more games coming your way tonight before we get to the big day that's coming up on tomorrow on Thursday. But we've got Miami of Ohio taking on SMU. They're going to be in action. And then Prairie View A&M versus Lehigh. So those games will be in action tonight. St. Thomas and the NIT did fall in round 1 last night to Seattle. So, but also with hoops, the Bucks, surprise, surprise, falling to the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. But again, surprise, surprise, Giannis is going to miss some time. Out for at least a week with a hyperextended knee. This guy just cannot catch a break with the injuries this year. I mean, of all of the downs that this team has had this year, you look at how many games Giannis has missed due to injury, and it just makes things worse. It makes it a lot more difficult to try to win some of these games and that. But even so, when Giannis was in the lineup, it wasn't like they were winning a lot of games either. But they're a better team when he's on there, of course. But still, man. So, I mean, we were talking about, is this going to be like the countdown, the final games of Giannis in a Bucks uniform? Now he's going to miss some. I mean, at this point, I wonder, do the Bucks just shut him down? If not, I don't know what you do at this point. Selfishly, as a fan, I'd like to see him come back and play a couple more games yet this season, just in case it might be the last time. But then in the same breath, it's like, is this how you want to remember Giannis as a Buck? Is how this season goes down? Probably not. So, I mean, you can make points either way and go at it from either way. It's just, it stinks. It sucks. I don't know how else to describe it. But I think now, if you're a Bucks fan and such, you're probably just like, hey, let's get this season over with and get to it should be a rather newsworthy offseason for the Bucks in that. But it's going to be a long, long, long postseason before we get to some of those moves for sure. But we'll talk some hoops, college and pro. Also on the dockets, we'll throw a little football chat in here too. Packers yesterday announcing that another honor for Bob Harlan, Ed Policy, announcing that they're going to be putting Bob Harlan's name in the northeast corner of the Lambeau Field facade, which I think well-deserved. I mean, I know the plaza is named after Harlan and such, the outside plaza of Lambeau Field, right? The entrance to the atrium, that area and such. But, you know, you see you're going to have that name up there. Ted Thompson's name is up there as well. Obviously, it used to be they would put those names up there for whoever was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it kind of changed a little bit. They put Ron Wolf's name up there. And then he ended up getting into the Hall of Fame. So they kind of like shifted his name. If you've never been to Lambeau Field, so they originally had Ron Wolf's name in the corner. All the Hall of Famers are kind of like on the sides. So think of the sidelines. They're all out over there. But then when he was named to the Hall of Fame, they shifted him or moved his name to the rest of the Hall of Famers. Now Ted Thompson is in that corner because he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I don't think he will, but you never know. And then Bob Harlan will be in the corner too. I think Bob Harlan still needs to be recognized and well-deserved to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Because when you talk about players or people, when you talk about people in the Hall of Fame, I think a big thing is, can you tell the history of the game without that person? And in this case, when it comes to Bob Harlan, I don't think you could tell the complete history of the Green Bay Packers, which is one of the iconic franchises of this league. You cannot tell the complete story of the Green Bay Packers without the impact that Bob Harlan has done on this franchise. So in part, that's why he should be recognized more and well-deserved to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're putting in owners and such. Bob Harlan should be factored into that too. I mean, the fact that we all know the history, but to go out there and get the funding and such, he's not the owner. It's not like he shelled out money out of his own pocket. I mean, you have to go out there and kind of campaign and promote and all that sort of stuff. And report to a board of directors and all that. Maybe makes it a little bit more difficult in a lot of instances to run the team. There's no Ron Wolf, and a trickle-down effect. There's no Mike Holmgren. There's no Brett Favre. There's no Reggie White without Bob Harlan. So I'm glad the Packers are doing that. Pro football, it's time for the people that vote those people in for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You're up next. That man deserves it. There's a few other Packers people that absolutely deserve it too, but Bob Harlan's right towards the top of that list for sure. So what else do we have on the game plan for us this morning? We're going to talk well, it is a Mike's Star Market. Am I wrong? That's kind of what my am I wrong was. Am I wrong thinking that Bob Harlan should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? But if you got anything else, let me know. What are your am I wrongs? Am I wrong for thinking this? Am I wrong for saying that? We'll do a little high V game changer as well. Who's your pick for a game changer from the past week or so? So from last Wednesday until now, could be a play, could be a player, could be, again, a move, an offseason move, or whatever the case, a trade. All that is on the table, all right? All that is available. So give me your high V game changers. We'll do a little Inside the Hobby coming up at 8 o'clock. Tyler from Slab Factory will be stopping by where we'll talk a little bit about the hobby and such. So that's also coming up on the game plan for us this morning. So we're going to touch on a little bit of everything. And don't forget, get those brackets in, all right? Tomorrow's the day. Head to sportstalk1051.com. Click on that Fan Cave tab and get your brackets turned in. All right. Time's running out here, baby. So let's that's your game plan this morning. Let's get things going, shall we? We'll take our first break, and we'll open up, talk a little baseball. I want to talk, what was your feedback, your analysis, your thoughts on the World Baseball Classic? We'll talk a little Brewers as the countdown continues to opening day and all that fun stuff. All right, quick break, and then the leadoff will be right here after these quick words. Hunting season will be here before you know it, and that preparation starts right now at Tilda Gun. They know serious hunters don't wait until opening day to get ready. Whether you are gearing up for the upcoming spring turkey season or planning ahead for fall, now is the time to make now is the time to make sure your equipment is dialed in. From shotguns and rifles to optics, ammunition, and must-have accessories, Tilda Gun has the selection and expertise to help you step into the woods with confidence. Hey, maybe it's time to upgrade your setup. Maybe it's time to sight in that new optic, or maybe it's just stocking up so you're not scrambling later. Turkey season demands precision, patience, and preparation. Stop on in to Tilden Gun and talk with the people who understand the hunt because they live it too. Tilden Gun, get ready now so you're ready when it matters the most. Don't forget those extra turkey tags going on sale this week, 10 a.m. each day. All right, so got to get mine tomorrow. I got the alarm set on my phone. So, all right, let's talk some baseball to open up things. World Baseball Classic is officially in the books. Team Venezuela is your World Baseball Classic champions after winning 3-2 against Team USA last night. Venezuela 2-0 lead heading into the eighth. Bryce Harper ties it up, but go ahead double for Venezuela in the top of the ninth, and they were able to hold on to a 3-2 victory to become champions for the first time. It's the second World Baseball Classic in a row that Team USA finishes with the silver in second place. Overall, I think it was fantastic. I thought it was highly entertaining. Players were buying in. Fans were buying in. Overall, I think if you're Major League Baseball and you just kind of pat yourself on the backs here and you give yourself a little victory scotch with this one because that – I think it was fantastic baseball. You had great storylines. You had Team Italy. You had great matchups and such. You had star power galore. You had younger players making a name for themselves, kind of putting themselves in the national spotlight here. I think Bryce Terang was one of those guys. Obviously, you keep with the Brewers sense. Luke Fisher with Team Italy. I mean, just all across the board, there was a lot of good things to come from this. So, and it was just from a pure fan standpoint, it was awesome. It was awesome to watch and thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think they got something here. Now, I know a lot of the talk is going to be, how can you make it bigger? How can you make it better? Do you put it in the middle of the season where you take, I think it was Smoltz that kind of threw this out there. Do you take the whole week off and do this? Do you just make it USA versus the world? I don't think you do USA versus the world because I think what World Baseball Classic showed us is that you've got a lot of good representations from different countries. You got some parity in this thing. It's not necessarily like the NBA where you could do that with the All-Star game and, have a couple of Team USA teams and then a world team. I think for this, you've got such solid parity all across the board with different representations. I don't think you do USA versus the world because, in all honesty, I think I think world dominates that thing. Then I like the different countries represented and such because it's almost equal talent. Sure, some are a little bit better than others, but man, I thought this was awesome. And I mean, even going back to earlier on and some great stories. I mean, you want to talk about some local stuff. Vavra hitting a home run too. I mean, it was awesome. And I get the timing and such. You can't do it at the end of a baseball season because I think those guys at that point after a World Series, even if they're not in the World Series, they're ready for the offseason and that. I don't think teams would be keen on players playing in the middle of the season, especially getting ready for maybe a playoff push and such. I don't mind it at the beginning of the year because, and maybe it just happened to work out perfectly this year coming off the heels of the Winter Olympics. But it's, I know I've kind of said it a few times, it's a nice prelude to the regular season, to a long regular season coming up here. You get the guys that already buy in, they're fresh, that sort of thing. There's not a lot of wear and tear on them and that. I kind of like the setup already. I kind of do. And I don't know how you necessarily make it bigger. I think right now it's like, oh, maybe you just got to keep it in Miami because those fans, they turned out and turned up for that thing. I mean, you watching it on TV, it felt like watching playoff baseball, a World Series. You could just get the emotion and just the energy from all those fans. So I loved it. I really, there isn't a whole lot I could kind of nitpick. I mean, the only thing is, and I don't think there's a solution to this, is, you had the teams kind of chime in and say, okay, this pitcher's allowed to do this. He's not allowed to do this. He's only allowed to pitch in a ninth. He can only do this. I don't know how you fix that, and I don't know if that's something that could be changed. You're not going to have teams that are going to give these teams free reign to do whatever they want with their players. Yeah, go throw Paul Skeens for as long as you want. Go for it. It's not going to happen, and I don't know how you change that. I don't. Regardless of the time of year, I don't think it happens. And I think what does help, though, is you've got this player push that players want to play in it. Players want to participate in it. Again, they are 100% buying into it. And I think that's the biggest thing. As long as the players continue to buy into it, as long as they continue to do that, and they put forth the effort that we saw throughout this whole thing, fans are going to buy into it. Fans are going to get into it. I think maybe the only question would be, and this really, is it not, do they change it up a little bit with managers? I mean, you saw Venezuela. I mean, he's the bench coach for the Astros and such. Does Team USA maybe look at a bench coach option? Because you're not going to get, right now, a full-time manager. You're not going to get, let's say, Pat Murphy's not going to go. He's focused with the Brewers right now. Could they bring in a guy like a Joe Madden or a retired, manager that could come in? Possibly. Very well could. That's an option. And maybe that's something they kind of look at going down the line. But for all intents purposes, I thought it was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think they got something here. And I don't think any other sport could kind of replicate that. And I just, watching this World Baseball Classic too, it was just such a good reminder to see how global the game of baseball still is. How worldwide this game is. To see the different countries, to see the talent of these different countries, to see the talent represented, it was just, I think it's a good reminder that, hey, a lot of people, a lot of us still consider baseball America's pastime, and that it is a worldwide game. It is a global game with talent across the board. And you can't say that for a lot of sports. You could throw soccer into there. But, when we're talking about football for the Olympics, what do we say? USA better win that because that's their game. That's their sport. They better dominate. What other country could beat USA in football? Baseball, you got parity all across the board right now. That's what this World Baseball Classic continues to show us. If I'm the Olympics and I'm looking at this thing, I got to be saying, man, do we got to bring this thing back? Because look at what that thing is. If that's something that we can add to the Olympics, the Summer Olympics, man alive. And I think that might be the thing where you get the players to participate in the summer a little bit more. And that would be the tricky thing. Like Major League Baseball, do you pause it for a week, pause it for a couple weeks, like they do for the NHL, where they pause some of those games so those star players are playing the Olympics? Do they do that where they can have those, I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know what the perfect answer is to that. But I think, again, watching this event, this tournament, it's just a good reminder how worldwide this game of baseball has become and how worldwide this game of baseball continues to be. And I'll be I'm going to tell you this. We talk a lot about baseball trying to get the younger fans, trying to keep them engaged, trying to keep them involved. My kid who's 8 years old, will be 9, is a baseball. I mean, he's very season by season, right? Right now he's transitioning into baseball. He's still in basketball mode, but he's transitioning into baseball right now. And when it's fall, it'll be football and that. He's really into soccer right now, which I don't next to nothing about soccer, so he already knows more than me. But he was cheering for Team Venezuela last night because of the players on that team, the star players. He's like, oh, I want that guy's jersey. Oh, I got his card. Or, man, I really like that. Contreras is his favorite player. Okay, so before anybody jumps down my back, it's like, why is he cheering for Team USA? Contreras is his favorite player. So Contreras was on Team USA. And then he knows Jackson Chirio, too, because that's one of his favorite players. Yes, Bryce Strang was on Team USA, but he's an 8-year-old, for crying out loud, okay? But then he started like, oh, I like Torres. That guy's pretty cool. That guy's really good. Can I get that guy's jersey? Can I get that guy's card? So that is a way to get these younger fans involved, liking the game, jumping on board, is doing stuff like this. And I think they did a fantastic job with it. All right, we got to take a quick break here, but I want to talk some Brewers. Let's continue our countdown, all right? Our countdown to the most, in my opinion, the most crucial or pivotal players for the Brewers for the overall success of their season. We've already highlighted 3 of them. Let's get to another one. But we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. When it comes to quality meat, you don't guess. You go right to the experts at Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. You're not just buying meat, but you're buying experience. Hand-cut steaks, fresh ground beef, house-made brats and sausages, thick-cut chops done exactly the way you like them. This is your neighborhood butcher shop where quality comes first and service still matters. Planning a cookout, stocking up for the week, or looking for the perfect steak for dinner tonight? Stop on in to Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire and taste the difference that a real butcher makes. Mike's Star Market, fresh, local, and done right. Speaking of Mike's, it is a Am I Wrong Wednesday, brought to you by Mike's Star Market. C-Bomb says the entire world needs to just do away with war. When there's a dispute, you either throw hockey teams or baseball teams out there and let the winner decide. Tell me I'm wrong. I mean, you throw in the hockey for the Olympics, you throw in baseball and such. Tell me I'm wrong. We've been spoiled as sports fans here lately with some really, really, really good games. Tell me I'm wrong. With the Winter Olympics, with World Baseball Classic, heck, you want to throw a little football free agency thing in this? Now we get March Madness coming up here. Tell me I'm wrong. We are spoiled right now as sports fans because it has been so dang fun to watch. So awesome to watch. Let's continue some baseball talk, but switch over to the Brewers. So we've been kind of continuing a little bit of a countdown here in terms of most pivotal, crucial Brewers people, in my opinion, for the overall success of this season for the Brewers. And we've already highlighted 3 players: Sal Frelick, Brandon Woodruff, and Andrew Vaughn. Today, I want to go back to another pitcher, and I'm going to go Chad Patrick. Now, hear me out. Why I feel like Chad Patrick is very pivotal, crucial to the overall success of this Brewer squad this year. Part of it is because Brandon Woodruff, we don't know about the health. Can he hold up for a whole season? I think the talent is still there. We saw that last year with Brandon Woodruff. It's just the biggest question when it comes to Brandon Woodruff is, can he stay healthy? Can he pitch in September and October? We don't know. It's a big question mark. And then I'll just kind of throw out there, Mizorowski is coming up on my list. Okay, he's coming up. So chill. He's coming up here. But even with Miz, he's an unknown too. Yes, we've seen the good. We've seen what he could be. Now, can he put it all together and be that consistent, dominating pitcher? We don't know. So in comes Chad Patrick, who last year, when you look back at his season, was probably, to begin the year, the most consistent starting pitcher for the Brewers. And then kind of went through a little bit of a lull. Got sent down to AAA because guys started to get healthier and such, and he was the odd man out. Came back, came out of the bullpen, got some spot starts, was really good in the postseason. He's going to be a starter this year. You look at him, and is he going to be, I think if he could be, again, that consistent presence in that rotation, like maybe Mr. Reliable, if you will. You kind of know what you're going to get with Chad Patrick more times than not. And hopefully it's at a high level. You know, a guy that's going to go out there, get you maybe some double-digit wins and have an ERA like a 3.5 or something like that. But because there's a little bit of unknown right now with Woodruff and his health and a little bit of an unknown with the consistency of Mizorowski, that's why I think Chad Patrick is uber important for this ball club's success this year. Because if he can bring that stability, that consistency within that starting rotation, Quinn Priester, you can't throw his name in there because he's dealing with the wrist injury, and we don't know when we're going to see him again. You know, even Harrison, the youngster, unknown, right? Robert Gasser, Logan Henderson, still kind of some unknowns. Gasser looked great a couple years ago. Last year comes back from his Tommy John surgery, a little up and down. That's why Chad Patrick, to me, is such a pivotal player for this team, for this team's overall success, because they need him to be solid. They need him to be good. They need him to be consistent. And even if Brandon Woodruff is healthy and pitching at a high level, and let's say Mizorowski is pitching at a high level consistently, you still need Chad Patrick maybe as that third guy, that third starter in your rotation. Heck, he may be the opening day starter for all intents and purposes, but you need Chad Patrick to be kind of that next guy in that spot, that third guy, if you will, to really hold down the fort and still pitch at a high level. And I don't know what the offense is going to look like for this team this year. And, let's say the offense plays to the projections that everybody has out there with this group and plays, or doesn't put up a whole lot of runs like a lot of people assume. It does put more pressure on the starting pitching staff and the pitching staff overall. So, again, that feeds into why I think Chad Patrick is a top 10 player in terms of the most pivotal or crucial in the overall success of this Brewer season. And you look at, some of the numbers that he had last year. Yeah, he was just 3-8. If you're looking at the wins losses, he was 3-8. But he was 3.53 ERA. And he was kind of labeled that Mr. Consistent at the beginning of the Brewers season. And again, he was a guy that we didn't know a whole lot about, kind of thrown into it because of all the injuries to the pitching staff. Then it's like, oh, okay. And then stepped up big time in the postseason too, along with guys like Jacob Mizorowski and such. But you kind of look at the breakdown. Let me see if I can bring up the breakdown here quickly for Chad Patrick here. So, I don't want spring training. I want regular season here. So, all right. In the month of April, he pitched 5 games. He started 5 games in the month of April, 1.82 ERA. He was just 1-2, but a 1.82 ERA. May, 3.32 ERA. Then kind of started, maybe trailing off just a little bit there because June, 4.85, only had the 1 start in July, only 2 starts in August, but then came back in September, pitched in 6 games with 3 starts, 3.07 ERA. But it was, for the longest time, even if you look at his game in March against the Yankees, he just pitched 1 inning, he didn't allow more than 3 earned runs in a game until June 11th, when he gave up 5 against the Braves. And that was kind of like the start of his little lull, because then it was 4, then it was 4, and then shut out the Rockies, and then 2 against Miami, but then goes down to the minor leagues. And really, all season, when you look at Chad Patrick's numbers, he only gave up 4 or more earned runs in all of his games just 3 times. And they were all back-to-back. That June stretch, June 11th, June 17th, June 23rd. Otherwise, 3 or fewer in all the games that he pitched last season. That's consistency and such. And that's why he was Mr. Consistent to begin the season. So when we talk about all these pitchers and all these, Harrison's the potential, and I'm excited to see Harrison and Miz and obviously Woodruff, don't overlook the importance of what Chad Patrick can be for this ball club for this season. Super important. Super important. All right. We got to take our final break. Coming up, though, I've got my Hy-Vee game changer, and it's a little bit of a local flair. So that's coming up. Send me your game changers and send me your Am I Wrongs. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up the first hour coming up after these quick words. When it comes to fresh, convenient, and delicious, Hy-Vee in Eau Claire has got you covered. From fresh produce and premium meats to bakery favorites and ready-to-go meals, everything you need is under one roof. Planning some dinner tonight or maybe grabbing lunch on the run? Stocking up for the week? Hy-Vee makes it simple. A store that feels like your neighborhood market, just a bit bigger. Plus, with daily and weekly deals and seasonal specials, there's always something new to discover. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, where there is a helpful smile in every aisle. I gotta find out if they're going to be doing the pimento cheese for the Masters again here. I saw Masters was advertising their packages that you can order and such. Gotta find out if Hy-Vee's going to be doing that or not. So, but speaking of Hy-Vee, my game changer, I'm going to go with the big news from a local standpoint yesterday. Eau Claire North football hiring Mike Sins as their new head football coach. Game-changing hire. That is a big-time hire. That is an awesome hire. Mike's a fantastic person, fantastic coach, and I think that's a home run addition to Eau Claire North football, and that is my game-changing pick. So, congrats to Mike, and congrats to Eau Claire North on the hire. So, that's my game-changing pick. What are your game-changing picks? Send them on over. You can hit me up on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line with a quick text at 715-830-1912, or you can comment on the video stream on YouTube. So coming up at 8 o'clock, we're going to do a little Inside the Hobby. Tyler from Slab Factory is going to be joining me. We're going to be doing this about, we do the segments every Wednesday and such. But Tyler will be joining us every so often throughout the rest of the year and such. So we'll chat a little bit about that. We've got I want to talk some Packers as well. Yesterday, Bob Harlan, I should say Ed Policy, announcing that Bob Harlan's name is going to be on the facade of Lambeau Field, and I think that's perfect. I mean, if there was somebody. And I know for the longest time, those names were designated for people who were in the Hall of Fame, Pro Football Hall of Fame, not Packers Hall of Fame, but Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then it kind of changed when they originally put Ron Wolf up there before Ron Wolf was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. They put him in the corner, kind of separate from the others. If you haven't been to Lambeau Field, on the sidelines there, you see all those names and the years under them, years that they were with the Packers and such. Those are Pro Football Hall of Famers. And then when Ron Wolf was officially inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they shifted his name to that group. Now Ted Thompson's in the corner, and now they're going to add Bob Harlan to the corner. So maybe one of these days, but and that's kind of where my am I wrong is. I feel like and you can call me biased or what, but I think if there's a person that belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame from the Packers organization that is not in there. And there's a few. Mike Holmgren, I think, belongs in there. Jack Venisi belongs in there. Bob Harlan belongs in there too. And I've always had the mindset when it comes to Hall of Fames, this phrase has always stuck with me. Can you tell the story of that sport, of that game, without so-and-so? For Bob Harlan's case, you cannot tell the story of the Green Bay Packers without Bob Harlan. You can't. And in turn, you can't tell the history of pro football without Bob Harlan. He gets probably the least amount of recognition and praise from all just, when you think about the 90s Packers, it goes to Wolf, it goes to Favre, it goes to White, it goes to Holmgren. But it all starts with Bob Harlan. And all the other stuff that he did, how we see Lambeau Field today, how we see this Packers team today. There may not be Green Bay Packers right now if it wasn't for Bob Harlan and such. So, in my opinion, am I wrong for thinking if there's somebody right now on this Packers, in this Packers history, and it's deep. You can go Vernon Llewellyn, you could go Cecil Isbell. I mean, you could go all these other players or people, coaches, front office people that have great resumes and 100% deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you had to rank them in terms of priority of who you think belongs in that Hall of Fame, I got Bob Harlan number one. And you all know I'm a big history guy. Jack Venisi should be right up there too. I mean, the Lombardi-era Packers are not the Lombardi-era Packers without Jack Venisi. If you don't know who Jack Venisi is or you're not familiar with it, look it up, because you want to talk about a scout and a general manager. I mean, he was the dude that built those teams before Lombardi got there. And Lombardi, that was a big draw for him to come to Green Bay, was because Jack Venisi was there. Mike Holmgren, I think, belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think he gets vastly overlooked, and there's some 40s, 50s, 30s era players too that you can make the case quarterbacks-wise, but given what he did, what Bob Harlan did for the franchise, and the effects that are still on this franchise right now, I just think he would be number one on there. So good to see that they're going to be putting his name in Lambeau Fields, and it'll be there forever, and rightfully so. So, all right, only got about a minute left until the shot clock cuts me off this morning. So we'll get back to some more baseball talk. Your reaction, your analysis, your thoughts on the World Baseball Classic. 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up. How much did you enjoy it? How much did you like it? Do you have maybe some improvements that you'd like to see them kind of adjust for the next time and such? Let me know. We'll talk some hoops as we get set for March Madness. We got a couple more play-in games tonight. We had 2 of them last night. Texas winning, Howard winning, so they move on. We'll see if Miami of Ohio moves on with a win tonight and such. So we got 2 more, and then the fun really begins tomorrow. Get those brackets turned in. C-Bomb, I know you're not a college basketball guy, but get the bracket in. All right, get your bracket in. Surveyor, get your bracket in. All of you, get your brackets in. Go to our website. Click on that Fan Cave tab. Scroll all the way down and just sign in and get your bracket. Hudson submitted his last night too. So, got an 8-year-old doing one. Even if you're not the biggest college hoops fan out there, fill out a bracket. Maybe you get a little bragging rights and such. So, but we'll talk some hoops coming up to begin the next hour. There you go. 1 in. We got 3 more quarters to go. Stick around. We got some news updates, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Hour 2, kick it off right now on this Wednesday morning. We are making the turn on this work week of ours. Thanks for hanging out with us and making us a part of your start. If you are up and at it, and you should be, for crying out loud. All right, get up, get going, get to work, and all that stuff. But hey, first hour, we spent a lot of time talking some baseball, World Baseball Classic, chatting a little Brewers as our countdown continues. We did a little Mike's Star Markets. Am I wrong? But you could continue to send yours on over. Am I wrong for saying this? Am I wrong for thinking this? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever. If you got any more, please send those puppies on over. Also, it's our Hy-Vee Game Changers. I went with my game changer being Mike Sins being hired as the new head coach for Eau Claire North of football. But if you've got another game changer that you would like to throw in, please do so. All right, text it on over to that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912, or you can join in on the YouTube chat room. So we've got a little Inside the Hobby coming up about an hour from now. Tyler from Slab Factory will be joining us, so we'll chat a little bit about that. We'll talk some more green and gold coming up here in just a little bit too. So, but hoops-wise, Bucks last night falling to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Probably no big surprise, right? Surprise, surprise. The Bucks lose again, 123 to 116. You're looking at it. Kevin Porter Jr., 25 points. Ryan Rollins, 19 points. Bobby Portis had 19 off the bench. Jang had 19 off the bench as well. Pete Nance, 13 points off the bench. That was about it. A.J. Green coming off the bench, 26 minutes. He only scored 6. Kuzma in 17 minutes, only 3 points. I mean, it's just, you throw your hands up in the air, and it's like, what are we doing here? Right? It's like, what exactly are we doing here? And now Giannis is going to be missing a week due to a knee injury, hyperextended knee. Just, it's done. I hate to be negative. I hate it. You all know I hate being negative. I try to be positive and such, but this is, yeah, the season's done. Any little bit of hope, it's out there. Was reading a little bit. A source close to Giannis told, now again, I know it's ESPN, so a source close to Giannis told ESPN that the Bucks superstar doesn't view this setback as season ending and intends to play again this season. So whenever he does come back, I mean, you're talking about maybe single digits left in the regular season. I just, we've been talking about these last 15, 14 games as kind of like, all right, is it going to be, kind of the farewell tour? Is this going to be the last time we see Giannis in a Bucks jersey? Is it going to be, last time we see Giannis play in Milwaukee or whatever? Who the heck knows? And now you get, I don't know. I don't know how to approach it, but I guess I'm kind of approaching it that way. Like, this is going to be maybe the last time we see Giannis in a Bucks jersey. It's kind of where I'm at. Playoffs right now, I know they're not mathematically out of it, but no Giannis and the way they're even playing when Giannis was in there, just I can't see it. I can't see it. You're looking at this thing. There's 6.5 games back. Yeah, Chicago right now is tied with the Bucks for 11th. There's Milwaukee and Chicago are the only two teams that are outside the playoffs that have not officially been mathematically eliminated. But I mean, for crying out loud, the Hornets are 35-34, Bucks and Chicago 28-40. They'd have to win all of their games and then still get some help. It's not happening. It's not happening. I hate to be a big Debbie Downer. It's just I can't see it happening. And it's disappointing. It's incredibly disappointing. I thought, and I'll admit it, at the beginning of the year, I thought, okay, maybe this Bucks team's going to be a little bit of a surprise. I know I wasn't the only one. But it's like, all the national peeps had the Bucks towards the bottom of the top 10, maybe in the play-in round. And I'm like, okay, maybe they'll catch some people by surprise. Spotlight's a little bit off of them. Maybe they'll catch a lot of people by surprise. Nope. In fact, could you say maybe if you were one of those that weren't buying the Bucks this year, thinking, did it go just the way you thought, or is it actually worse? Obviously, for me, it's way worse. I thought this year, okay, Indiana was going to be down because of Tyrese Halliburton and such. I think we all thought, okay, if this was a year to maybe make a push in the East, no Jason Tatum with Boston, they made a lot of moves and such, maybe you can catch them off guard too. They have been awesome, and Tatum is now back. Kind of thought, is this a year to catch some people off guard? And no. No, it wasn't. I mean, they couldn't even play together, or they couldn't even play well themselves, the Bucks. I think just overall an incredibly frustrating, poopy year for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I think we're at the point where a lot of fans just want to get to the offseason, get through this season, get through the NBA Finals, and let's start the process. Let's figure this thing out. Let's just get through it. Maybe that's trading Giannis, getting a new head coach, blowing up the roster, going a little Miami Dolphins on this thing perhaps. I don't know. Maybe not to that extreme. But selfishly, as a fan, I want Giannis. I want Giannis on my team. I want Giannis with the Bucks. I want him there. I want him to play his whole career there. As a fan, I want that to happen. He makes the Bucks relevant. He gives them a chance to win. I want it. I don't know if that's going to happen. But I also want Giannis to win more championships too. And if that's not going to be with the Bucks, and if the Bucks are going to continue down this path of how they're building this squad and such, and I don't completely fault the front office. I think a lot of moves they made with the input from Giannis and such, and I think you see that all across the NBA. And they were aggressive in some moves, and they didn't work out. But I don't know what this means, Sebo. I don't know what that means. So, anyways, college hoops wise, we got some play-in games. The last two play-in games, C-Bomb's completely sidetracked me. I think you texted the wrong person, C-Bomb. But anyways, college hoops-wise, we got a couple play-in games in the docket or in the books from yesterday. Texas, which I've seen a lot of people kind of saying maybe Texas is that play-in team that wins a couple more of these games, maybe is a surprise team and such. They squeaked out a victory last night, taking down NC State 68-66, last-second shot. And then you had Howard defeating UMBC 86-83 to advance. So now you've got Miami of Ohio versus SMU. Miami of Ohio, like outside of the top teams, they are the most talked about team in this entire tournament because of, well, they were undefeated. Then they lose in their conference tournament. So they got an at-large bid, which was the first of a non-big conference and such. So they get a play-in game against SMU. And then the other game on the docket tonight, Prairie View versus Lehigh. So, by the way, just if you're wondering what's the first game on the docket for Thursday, let me bring up these. Who gets the honors of tipping off this thing? TCU and Ohio State's going to be the first one. Tip time 11:15 coming your way tomorrow. Then we got Nebraska, 25 minutes math. Yeah, 25 minutes after that too. So, and then Wisconsin is the fourth game to tip off. So, but don't forget, get those brackets in, baby. I'm going to keep pounding that until this is the last day I can tell you to do it. So get those in. All right, we got a lot of Big Ten teams in action tomorrow, early on too. Ohio State, Nebraska, first two games. Then you got Wisconsin. And then Michigan State's in the afternoon going up against North Dakota. North Dakota State too. So, but Michigan also in action. Illinois is in action. So a lot of Big Ten teams already in action. I like it. All right. Got a few. Okay. Got a couple people texting in with their Hy-Vee game changers, and they're also with Mike Sins with being named head coach for Eau Claire North football. Sounds like we've got a couple of Eau Claire North alums pretty pumped about it. It's a great hire. It's a fantastic hire. I'm really happy for Mike, and I'm really happy for Eau Claire North. That's an awesome hire. They got a really cool, really awesome dude to be the new head coach over there. Big time hire. So definitely a game changer. No question about it. I agree with you all. So continue to send some game changers over. 715-830-1912, or you can join in on the YouTube video chat. So, what? Okay, now you guys are sidetracking me with some YouTube chat stuff over there too. So, all right, we'll take a quick break, but we'll be back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Accidents happen, but getting back on the road shouldn't be stressful. At Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, you will find experienced technicians, quality craftsmanship, and service that you can trust. From collision repair and dent removal to full paint work and insurance coordination, they handle the details so you do not have to. They'll restore your vehicle the right way, safely, professionally, and with attention to every detail. When your vehicle needs expert care, choose a team that puts you first. That's Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire, bringing your vehicle back to life one repair at a time. Superior Auto Body, our official Backyard Dreams partners. All right. Don't forget, coming up at 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock, we'll do a little Inside the Hobby. Tyler from Slab Factory will be joining us for a little Inside the Hobby chat here this morning. So that's our usual weekly Wednesday segment, but Tyler will be joining us probably about once every month or so. But got that coming up. Continue to send me your Mike Star Markets, Am I Wrongs? Also your high EV game changers. We'll get back to some more of those a little bit later on in the program. Also, we'll get back to some more baseball talk here too. I'm looking for your thoughts on the World Baseball Classic. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you enjoy it? I'm at a 10. I loved it. If you have any, if Rob Manfred, commissioner of Major League Baseball, called you up or sent you a message and said, hey, yo, Paul, Chad, Chris, Zach, Jeff, whatever your name is, got any suggestions on how we can make it better? What we should do differently? What would you tell them? If it's nothing, say, no, man, all good. Don't change a thing. Or if you got a suggestion, what would it be? Because right now, I'm kind of blanking on it. I don't know of something that I would change. I don't think I would change the time that it's played. Like point in the calendar. I think it works nice. You got players that are buying in. That's huge from a fan standpoint. Because we as fans can sense when a player's not buying in and they're not into it and such, and they're like, we're just being here so I don't have to get fined or that. Players are buying in, and that in turn makes it a great product on the field. And, yeah, it's just – I loved it. And my kid was hooked to it. He was into it. It put a lot of the youngsters, maybe some of the guys or the players that are in minor leagues or top minor league players on a world stage, and we got to know them a little bit more. If you're a Brewers player, probably got to see Luke Fisher a little bit more. He balled out for Team Italy. It's like, okay, now I'm excited for that guy whenever the Brewers call him up. Last year's first-round pick. Now you're probably like, hey, can we get him sooner? You know, for all the questions about who's going to be the third baseman for the Brewers going forward, you probably know a little bit more about Fisher now. Gets you excited that way. More people across Major League Baseball probably now know who Bryce Harang is, besides the gold glove, platinum glove winning second baseman for small market Milwaukee Brewers team. Dude actually hit well too, and one of the best second baseman in all of Major League Baseball. Jackson Chourio getting on a world stage too. So there's a lot to like from that and such. So but keep those thoughts coming. You can continue to send us with some texts at 715-830-1912. We'll switch gears here and chat a little football this morning. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Captain. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good.
All right.
And I got to tell you, it is really good for Eau Claire. Eau Claire, both high schools, Memorial and North, that Sins is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
It is great for the community.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, exactly. So I was chatting with him a little bit yesterday, so pumped up for that for sure.
Yeah,
so.
I got to tell you, I came from the Madison area, and I came up here, and one of the things that I was passionate about was coming up here and seeing building some feeder programs and getting the youth more involved with football. And I think if you've got engaged, committed coaches, it helps everybody. It helps everybody. So exciting news for Eau Claire.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So football-wise, so not really a whole lot going on in the Packers sense of free agency right now. We're in that tier 2 or tier 3, whatever you want to call it, second wave or third wave or such. So maybe some bargain shopping out there, and that there's still some veteran defensive linemen that are available in that. But at this point, how much do you think Goody is going to be willing to sign some of those guys if it factors into him potentially losing some comp picks for the 2027 draft that all the experts are saying is a very loaded draft at this point?
I think he was careful this offseason to ensure, if he could, that next year's draft class he's stocked.
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at the moves he made, and really nothing's going to impact the comp picks for next year as far as the moves he made. Mm-hmm. So I think he went into the offseason. You and I talked about it, going after some veterans, which he did. He acquired, Franklin with a trade. And really, I think at that point, too, and why am I drawing a blank? Javon Hargrave. Yeah, Hargrave. He was cut, so he doesn't count against the comp formula. So, yeah, I think he was very careful, and I think at this point, I think you're going to hear it pretty quiet at 1265 until the draft, and then you see what happens after the draft. What do you still need after the draft? And again, I like the way Green Bay attacked this offseason. Now, could you still hear an extension? Tucker Kraft, possibly. Christian Watson, possibly. Or do you wait until after June 2 when you get the full credit of Nate Hobbs' cut? But, I thought his approach to this offseason was smart and calculated. And again, I still say to get a fourth for Rashawn Gary, I thought that was huge. Mm-hmm. And so, again, I think the biggest news, that I saw coming out of Green Bay was Ed Policy. And Ed Policy talking about that now that teams can kind of sell off a portion of the franchise to other ownership groups, that really does impact Green Bay. And so Ed Policy, at his first press conference, he said, my number one job is to keep the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. And I think most people at that time thought, well, what does he mean by that? That's a no-brainer. Mm-hmm. But Green Bay can't be sold to a private equity firm. Green Bay you can't do that. So then it comes to things like naming rights. So I thought it was really interesting when Policy came out, and I think I think he's being strategic in making sure that he gets in front of it, makes it public that this is a concern and it could impact Green Bay, and then doing something about it. It would not surprise me, Dan, if there is discussions about naming rights at Lambeau Field.
And I think, I know people are upset about it and such, but at the same time, it is the fact that we are in 2026 and they still don't have naming rights, I think is impressive in itself, and it's going to be weird enough, but I think to be viable, and I mean, for example, Stephen Ross just sold 1% of the Dolphins valued at $12.5 billion.
Right.
That's a lot of flipping money, for 1%. And they don't have that owner that has deep pockets and such. So they got to come up with revenue and people are like, well, it's a salary cap. There's no salary cap on coaches.
Right.
There's no owner to help, upgrades within the stadium and such and all that. So they got to come up with different ways. It'll be weird, but I understand it. I completely get it.
So as you know, and I think we talked about it, I'm a season ticket holder.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman who started the idea of the personal seat license, and for those of you who don't know the PSL, at one point you had to sign the personal seat license and write a check for the right to write a check.
Yeah.
And pun intended, no pun intended, you had to keep up with the Joneses because Jerry Jones was the one who started that.
Mm-hmm. So
a lot of Packers season ticket holders, now my dad included at the time, he said, I don't know if I can afford this anymore. And so my brother and I told my brother, I said, there's no way these tickets are going out of our family. I said, we're going to pay Dad's PSL. And then you move forward. And so you have to stay competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And if the landscape changes And again, I think it's great what the Packers are going to be doing with Bob Harlan. And if not for Bob Harlan, I don't know if the Green Bay Packers are here. So Bob Harlan had the foresight to make the changes that were needed to keep this franchise competitive. And I think policy is in the same vein. And again, so
and Mark Murphy did, I think.
Mark Murphy, absolutely. So yeah, I have zero problem with whatever Green Bay has to do, because they're not going to remove the name Lambeau Field.
No.
Now, could it be Quick Trip Stadium at Lambeau Field? Sure. They're not going to do something to ruin the history. And if you've been to Lambeau and all the renovations and everything that's there, it still looks like the original Lambeau, at least from modern times. And so they kept the brick. They kept those types of things to keep the memories and the history there. So, yeah, I have zero problem with doing whatever Green Bay has to do to stay competitive, because I still think it's a unique story. And again, if you've got to keep up with the Joneses, quote unquote, do it.
And it's not. We had some people saying we'll just sell more stock. That's a quick solution. You're talking about a yearly income.
Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket.
It's
a drop in the bucket.
Right, exactly. And no owners aren't going to get dividends from this. That's not how that works either. I mean, it's just, if it helps Green Bay and it helps the franchise and remain competitive, I'm okay with it. And like you said, they're not going to wipe away the Lambeau Field name. No. And the other part in this, too, is like, I think Ed Policy made a really good point. They got 150,000-ish people waiting on that season ticket waiting list. If they wanted to, they could skyrocket those ticket prices.
100%.
And do it that way.
Right.
And they're not. They're keeping in the middle of the pack in terms of ticket prices.
I think my season tickets, I might be off a little bit, but I think it was a $4 per ticket increase per game, of course. So that's not bad.
Right.
When you think about where the salary cap has gone and where you think about expenses and just all of these things you think about, you say to yourself, okay, $4 a ticket, all right, times 2 seats, times 9 games. All right, I can do that. I can do that. And so, again, I just, again, looking back to Harlan, to Mark Murphy, now to policy, you have to look at running this franchise, especially with no owner. You have to look at it like you're the CEO of this company. And you have to do what's best for the team, but also the business. And I think we've seen that all three of these gentlemen, from Bob Harlan to Mark Murphy, now to Ed Policy, have the business side in mind, and they let people who know the football side run the football side.
Right. And I think, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but maybe some fans who don't like this, maybe they'd be okay with it if it was a Wisconsin company, or something like that.
That's why, I said Quick Trip.
Right.
You could say something, heck, right here in our hometown, John Menard could write a check. So it's just, it's again, I have zero absolute problem with it.
Yep.
And so I think that was the biggest thing that as far as news goes, now that free agency has died down. Of course, Broncos yesterday making a big trade with the Dolphins for Waddle. But did you see the dead cap that Miami's carrying?
117, 114, something like that. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah. That is just crazy. But
I feel bad for Malik Willis now, but maybe not. He got a nice contract.
I was going to say, I think he's doing okay.
Yeah,
I think he's doing okay. I would, if I were Malik Willis, though, I would probably take Matt LaFleur out to dinner at some point and tell him thank you for that. So, but yeah, outside of, a random trade or maybe a random signing, I think, the Ed Policy news was the biggest, and now, it's on to the draft.
Yeah. I know there was the Anthony Richardson rumor over the weekend that Green Bay is potentially a target for him. I can't see that in terms of his current cap hit. You're talking about $11 million cap hit for a backup quarterback.
Right.
Colts would have to pay a big chunk of that portion for that to work.
Yeah, I think so too. And
that'd only be for 1 year.
Right.
So.
You got Malik Willis for a 7th. As Andrew Brandt likes to say, a ham sandwich.
Right.
The asking price for Richardson, at least right now, from what I'm understanding from the Colts, is a 4th or a 5th. Not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll stick with Desmond Ridder at that point. And so not going to do a fourth or fifth for Anthony Richardson.
I would agree. Yeah, especially when you factor in that cap chart, and you only have him for 1 year.
Yep.
Whereas Malik, you had him for 2 years.
You knew you had him for 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think backup quarterback's important, but not at that price.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And again, I am willing to roll the dice on Ridder as your backup because this is another guy, in my opinion, that has Malik Willis-like qualities. And so, again, I'd rather roll the dice than make that kind of a deal. Now,
agree.
of course, the other one, and I want to throw this out because the other one out there, I believe Josh Sweat, right, from the Cardinals?
Yeah, Josh Sweat. Yep.
So, and people are saying, hey, let's trade Jaden Reed for him. Do you trade Jaden Reed? Is he right now, in your opinion, expendable?
No.
No, I agree.
No, I don't.
I don't either. I think you got a receiver going into his last year of his contract, and there was no question 2 seasons ago he was the leading playmaker on this team. And now again, if Jaden Reed catches that pass in that Chicago game in the playoffs, that was just a perfect pass from Love on that last drive and puts them in a position at the 20 with 40-some seconds to go. Do the Packers pull that one out? Maybe. But I still think Jaden Reed is valuable. And I think now that you've got Watson on one side, Golden on the other side, and then you bring Jaden Reed in that slot with Tucker Kraft coming back, I think your offense is complete. So I don't make that deal. If they did make that deal, would I hate it? No. But I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I don't think it's needed right now either. And yeah, selfishly, I'd like Jaden Reed to stick around, but money is also going to be at a premium.
Yeah,
too
no
here.
doubt. I mean, there's only so much to go around. And I think the priorities for the Green Bay Packers, no question, are Tucker Kraft and Christian Watson.
And maybe Devontae Wyatt.
And Devontae Wyatt, yeah. And so Jaden Reed becomes probably 4th on that list. And then you got to see what kind of year, what happens this season before you make that move. But I still wouldn't make that trade. I still would not make that trade. And I saw some stuff on Packers social yesterday about, trading Reed and a draft choice to Miami for the running back.
Amit or yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And I just was like, I don't make that trade.
No,
I don't make that trade. So I again, it's on to the draft. Packer fans, be confident and comfortable in knowing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Be confident and comfortable knowing that Ed Policy has the franchise's future on his mind. I think that's all we can ask for.
And we have few people saying Green Bay has money; they should not do that. But they have the emergency fund. It's $500-600 million, which I know for us it might sound like a lot, but you look at earlier in the week what happened on Monday. The Patriots, with a deep-pocketed owner, naming rights to their training facility.
Yep.
I mean, so I wouldn't be surprised if Don Hudson Center all of a sudden gets a sponsor on there either.
If anyone has ever seen the Green Bay Packers practice, look at their jerseys.
Yeah.
Because
Bellin Health.
Yep. Do you think that was free?
No.
Do you think Green Bay gave that to Bellin Health? No, that's a form of naming rights. So, and they're on the front patch of every jersey during practice. So Green Bay's already doing these types of things. They're just not doing it to the extent of the rest of the NFL.
Right. And it's 2026. That's where I'm like, we should probably be thankful it went this long without. And to be fair, Ed Policy said that's not an avenue we're looking at now, but he did throw it out there.
Absolutely.
Hey, it could come. And I trust him, to do what's best for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I do too. And again, I think like you said, looking at where Ed Policy is today, looking at, I think, the leadership on down with Gutekunst and Russ Ball and Matt LaFleur, I think Green Bay's in a good position. I really do. And I think I love the baton handoff that's happened between Bob Harlan to Mark Murphy to Ed Policy. I love the baton handoff that's gone from Ron Wolf to Ted Thompson to Brian Gutekunst. There is something, and I get it. Sometimes you got to look outside the organization. I get that. But this franchise, since really the early 90s, when you think about it, has been on a pedestal. And if 2014, and I mean that, they are the gold standard, one of the gold standard teams in the NFL as far as how to run a franchise. And if that 2014 season, that Seattle debacle, that ends in a Super Bowl, the narrative is completely different. And so, again, I think Green Bay's in a good place. I think Goody's done a nice job this offseason, comfortable with that policy where this thing is going. And like I said, I don't think you're going to hear much until the draft as far as the Green Bay Packers, and I'm okay with that.
Yep, I'm the same way. I want to make one more point, though, with this whole thing, too, with the money part of it. I think the unique factor in it, too, and it relates to Bob Harlan a little bit. Bob Harlan had to hit the streets to raise money. You would think it would be easy to pass something to help the Green Bay Packers, and it was not.
53-47, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah, the vote. Yeah,
and I was rewatching a Bob Harlan, video where he talked about after hitting the street and such, and he's like, man, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
All the vote. You would think it would be easy. It's not.
Right.
It's not. So if Green Bay can figure out ways to where they don't have to go do that stuff again, where it's a little bit nervous.
Right.
I'd rather have that because you have those other issues that not like an owner,
right?
Where you could just like, okay, yep, you need upgrades here. This has to go to vote. This has to go to that. If Green Bay can have that fund a little bit higher where they don't have to do that, it takes a lot of that stress away.
No doubt, no doubt. And again, I love the way that the organization, the franchise has been built. I love the fact that my dad had the vision in 1957 to buy season tickets.
Yeah.
And again, going back to, as my dad was getting older and the PSL came out and things were changing for him, my brother and I picked up the slack. And I think that's what you do, and I think that's what this organization has done, is you pick up the slack. And again, I chuckle at everyone up in arms about the naming rights when it's like, guys, look at their jerseys during practice time. That is naming rights. So they are already doing it. It's just they're not throwing it in your face.
Right.
And by the way, how many of us call American Family Field or whatever the heck the official name is? How many of us call it that?
Probably 50-50.
I mean, maybe.
It's still Miller Park for a lot. And that's the thing. If you add a name to Lambeau Field, what are you going to call it as a fan? Lambeau Field.
Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us really take the time to say AmFam in front of Miller Park?
Right.
And you know what? It took me a long time. Honestly, I was a county stadium kid.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to get to Miller Park.
Yeah.
So it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
Bottom line is it's not, because no one's going to call it Quick Trip Stadium at Lambeau Field.
Right.
They're going to call it Lambeau. That's it.
Exactly.
So.
Yep. I agree, man. So,
all right. Well, listen. Hey, how's your bracket looking, real quick?
We'll find out tomorrow right away. So, I got Wisconsin going to Sweet 16.
Are you one of those that says Wisconsin is that team that no one wants to face?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
They also could be a team that could be out game one.
There's no question.
I hate picking Wisconsin because you could make one argument one way or the other. So.
I thought the Big Ten tournament for Wisconsin played out exactly the way it should have without Nolan Winter there.
Yep.
I said, look, good showing. You took Michigan to the final possession. You got an extra day of rest.
Yep.
You get Winter back, and now you make a run in the dance.
Yep.
And so super excited about where this team can go. And I think the Fire Greg Guard club is pretty quiet right now.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So
there we go, man.
All right, dude. Appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break. Back with plenty more as we start to wrap up the second hour after these quick words. Pain doesn't have to slow you down. At Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, their experienced team is focused on getting you back to doing what you love, whether that's competing on the field or staying active or simply moving without discomfort. From joint pain and sports injuries to advanced surgical and non-surgical treatments, they provide personalized care around you. Local experts, advanced techniques, real results. If pain is holding you back, take the next step towards recovery. That's Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, helping you move better every single day. We do got to play a little catch up here, so we got another break towards the top of the hour. But coming up here momentarily, we'll do a little Inside the Hobby chats with Tyler from Slab Factory and such. So we got that. We're going to get back to some more baseball talk with the World Baseball Classic, Brewers-wise, Hoops chat, get those brackets in. Go to our website at sportstalk1051.com, click on that Fan Cave tab, and scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see your bracket challenge in there, too. Also, got to give a shout-out. What a successful trip down to Florida for the Blue Gold softball team. Undefeated, man. I mean, that's a heck of a trip down to Florida. To go down there and pick up wins all across the board. So they'll be back at the Sonntag next Tuesday, the 24th, with a doubleheader against Superior. But, man, putting on an offensive clinic, 6-4, 8-0, 5-0, 15-0, 13-5, 3-2, 7-2, 8-0, and then their final game against Webster, 18-1. So Blue Gold softball, 14-4. So far this season, riding that 9-game winning streak, going to be coming back to the Sonntag with a lot of momentum. And, they're going to be playing their next couple series over at the Sonntag Center here up until early April. So lots of home games for the Blue Golds coming up here too. So, all right, with that, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back to kind of start to wrap up the second quarter and the second hour after these quick words. Just got a few minutes left to the top of the hour here, but we're going to kick off our early little Inside the Hobby chat here with Tyler from Slab Factory, who's joining me in studio again this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. So, roads okay coming in, or a little dicey?
I mean, it was a little rough.
A little rough.
Yeah. I live out past Lowe's Creek Road, so not super plowed. But
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, hopefully that's the last of it, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Man. Are you getting ready are you a baseball kind of guy too? Getting ready for the season? Yeah.
I actually brought, because I know that you're a Sal guy. I brought a card.
He's the GOAT, man.
We'll kick it off with something that we have in shop.
Wow.
A pretty fun Sal Frelick card.
Yeah.
No, I love Sal. Sal's one of my favorites.
Yep.
I'm a big Churio guy. I think I talked about that last time.
Yep.
I was watching the World Baseball Classic last night. So much joy from the Venezuelan players. I did enjoy that. I know that, got to be rooting for the U.S., but Venezuela was fun.
You could tell, when you could tell players buy in for games like that or tournaments like that, you could tell, because we could tell as fans, right?
Yeah.
If whether those players, and to see that, that meant a lot for them, and it's that got me hooked too.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
See that. The intro to with them both walking on the field I was like, oh, this is going to be on now. It's like a heavyweight fight. And it was awesome. It lived up to it.
It was very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool. But yes, I am a baseball guy, and we do stock up for the seasons.
Okay.
We have a lot of baseball right now, and we do that with every sport.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So have you been kind of is it the new tops? Are they the big ones? It's got the Hank Aaron on the cover and such.
Yeah. Yep. So new tops. Top Series 1 is a little bit older now, and then you've got Bowman's Best is a recent release that they have as well. We've got that kind of stuff in shop, but the next big product out of Topps is actually basketball. I believe Bowman is their first collegiate and pro combination product that's coming out soon. Yeah. So that's I think that's the next big Topps release. I might misspeak because there might be a baseball product that sneaks in there, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, because we only got a couple minutes, so I really want to dive into it coming up in the next hour and such. But kind of going back, so I was actually going to ask this a little bit later on. Do you kind of stock up when it's those seasons and such?
Yeah.
So, basketball kind of dwindling down a little bit, or with March Madness, does it kind of pique a little bit of interest?
You'll see
that aspect?
If you have collegiate guys, then you'll see those guys sell.
Okay.
Collegiate products don't sell quite as well in markets that are big pro markets. If we have Badger stuff, we'll sell it for sure. But honestly, it's really more about the pro markets.
Right.
Basketball's dwindling, but anybody who's going into the playoffs, I mean, Con Knipple is going crazy right now.
Yeah.
His market is great, and he's going to be in the playoffs, at least in the play-in. Guys who are going to be in the playoffs, those will pick up, but otherwise the rest of it, it certainly slows down. But people are buying Jordan and Kobe and all those guys like crazy right now.
Really? So, is there a reason for Kobe or Jordan? Is it just
we can definitely dive into it after the top because it's a long story, but the high end market is kind of going a little bit nuts.
Okay.
Interesting. So it's certainly a good topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Shohei's going crazy too.
Okay. Yeah. I mean the Judge and is it the Aaron Judge and Shohei card that I've been seeing? That autographing
the dual logo man.
Yeah. So
pretty crazy.
All right, we'll hit that up coming up here because we just got 2 minutes left to the top of the hour. So, are you open if anybody's got a question? Send it on over.
Absolutely, please.
Right. Yeah. I know Paul has been waiting for this segment. So, Paul, big card collector guy. If you got any questions, send them on over. Anybody else, text them on over or hit us up on YouTube. All right, 715-830-1912. Also, you got your bracket in yet?
I have my bracket in. I never feel good about my bracket, and I'm always right. So
there we go.
Yeah, about being feeling bad about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, I'm never right about my picks. No.
Who do you got?
I do have Duke. It's no fun, but I have Duke. They look pretty overwhelming. Best defense in the country, one of the best offenses in the country.
It's hard. That's a fun region though too. When you look at all the iconic coaches,
I agree,
and legendary coaches and such.
I do like Arizona. I think that they absolutely manhandled Iowa State. A couple weeks ago. So
yeah,
I like them too. But Yeah, we'll see.
And then Wisconsin's that team that could lose their first one or maybe go on a run too. Who the heck
I don't
knows?
see them losing to High Point, but the famous last words, I'm going to go ahead and knock on wood real quick. But like Arkansas is tough, Arizona after that. I don't love it. Not
Right.
a great bracket.
Yep, exactly. All right, shot clock's going to cut us off here. So we've got some quick news updates, but we got plenty more with Tyler coming up here for a little some inside the hobby chats, card chat, and such. So if you do have a question, send it on over. All right, we'll be back in just 2 quick minutes. All right, third hour, kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning, making the turn. We continue our conversation with Tyler from Slab Factory, talking some cards and such. And before we kind of get into it, Tyler, last time was gracious enough to donate a card for a giveaway. And it was, it went on fire. A lot of people chiming in and wanting to get that card. So he has dropped off another one. It is an A.J. Hawk patch rookie card right there. So we did a trivia question for the James Starks one. It was, which college did he go to? Let's do another trivia.
Yeah.
Who's his famous brother-in-law?
I don't even know the answer
You don't
to that
even know?
question.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question.
He was his famous brother-in-law was a former first round draft pick. So.
All right.
Text over the answers. I'll tell you off.
I was going to say you're going to have to tell me after the fact.
I will. So if you know that answer, text it on over, 715-830-1912. So, Paul, we were talking a little bit about, kind of grading and such, and we were talking off air. I said, well, my kid's now been asking about, grading and such, and I'm not too familiar. I know a little bit about it in the process and such, but Paul actually has a question too. And he said, a question for Tyler, how do you feel about the cost of grading? Which companies give the best value for the buck? I have 100 cards at PSA right now.
Yeah, you're looking at a nice impending credit card charge with 100 cards at PSA. What do I think? So first of all, just, kind of taking a step back, grading is, you're grading for one of two reasons. You're grading because you want the card in a slab, or and whether that's for your personal collection or because you just would rather protect it that way. The other reason would be to increase the value of the card by getting a good grade. Good grade is relative because if it's like a vintage card, a PSA 7, PSA 8, might be a great grade for that card. If it's a modern card, though, you might be breaking even if it comes back an 8 or a 9. And if it's a 10, that's where the value increase comes in.
Gotcha.
Right? So you have to evaluate your cards really closely when deciding whether or not you're going to send them in for grading. Look at sales of, what's my worst case? Is my worst case that I spend $30 and the card is worth exactly the same when it comes back? Or, is my worst case that, it is, or is it so clean that it's got that upside to be a PSA 10 and maybe double or triple the value depending on what the card is. So, that's step one. Cost of grading is, PSA did recently raise their costs. I understand it from the standpoint of they were pretty backed up. When you're backed up, and you're getting overwhelming volume of cards to get graded, I understand raising the cost, that you're deterring some of the low end grading, right? If it's only, excuse me, they used to, run specials and stuff. And if it's only like $18 a card, then you're going to have people sending in a lot of lower end stuff.
Right.
Which is not a bad thing. It's nice. But if they're getting overwhelmed with, and they don't have enough graders for the amount of grading that's happening, then I understand raising the price. So PSA did recently raise prices. And then, the other part of the question is probably, what do I think of the cost of grading when it comes to upcharges? So PSA, and again, this is the main grading company throughout the hobby. It is, they have a pretty decent monopoly on grading. And they upcharge based on value of card. So not to get too deep in the weeds, but if you send in a card at their bottom grading level, which covers up to $500 value cards.
Okay.
If it's a 10 and in that 10, it's actually worth $1,200, they will charge you more than that initial grading cost that, you submitted at.
Okay.
They end up charging you, I believe it's $60 for the next tier up from $25. And then so on and so forth. It goes up and up to the point that if you're grading something and it's worth $10,000, you're getting a $400, $500 upcharge on your grading. A lot of people don't like that,
Right.
Which makes sense. It's a little bit PSA knowing that they dominate the market, so it's a little bit almost predatory on the collector. But I also think that it's their way of, again, limiting volume because they are just taking in too many cards to grade. Some people say expand your operation, have more graders, but this is how PSA is, really raking money in.
Right.
Yeah. These other grading companies do not do upcharges.
Okay.
Beckett, and SGC and CGC, they do not do upcharges. So that's something to consider when looking at your grading.
So with PSA, if let's say you get a card, let's say it's the same exact card, same grade from PSA and SGC, does the PSA one tend to be worth more than because it's from PSA?
Yeah, and that's why people still send into PSA more than anywhere else.
Okay.
Even with those upcharges, even with, they are king in resale value. There are companies out there for both sports and for TCG that compete, but they do not measure up in terms of the resale value of said 10, right? Mm-hmm. There's also we could do this for hours, because like the other thing too is like there's AI grading companies. Tag grading is really more of a TCG grading company, but they do grade sports. It doesn't add like much value at all in sports, but it adds some value in Pokemon. But it is an AI grading company, and they show you with full transparency how they got the grade that they got, which is really cool to see, right?
Yeah.
PSA does not give you that information. They don't tell you why your card got a 7, why your card got an 8. But then, and that's also, PSA is human error. You might send in a card one time and get an 8, crack the slab, send it in again and get a 10 the next time. You don't know if you're going to catch a grader on a bad day. You don't know what's going to happen. So like it is a bit of a random sort of situation. There's human error involved. There's human ego involved.
Right.
So but PSA is king as far as the resale value is concerned.
Is it better? I don't know if this was something I heard a while ago, to like send it in bulk instead of just like one at a time. Is there a difference in pricing, or is that?
Well, if you grade with we take shop submissions.
Okay.
So if you as someone in the community wants to grade a card, but you're like, I don't even know where to start, because you have to get a membership with PSA, or you have to have an account, and then when you send it, you're paying for the insurance and shipping on top of, you also have to meet submission minimums. If certain companies, you have to pay a certain amount, more, because you're not sending in 20 cards. If you submit with a shop, we are, what you would normally pay, I believe, is $24.99. With the shop, you're paying $29.99. That's covering your insurance and shipping costs in addition. And we are sending out once a month at the end of the month. So we send out 100 to 250, 300 cards at a time, depending on what our customers are submitting with us. Shop's not really making much on that. It's really more of like a service to the customer, because, we want people to, work with us. And, so we, when those cards are going out for grading, you don't have to submit 20 at a time. You can pop in, drop a card off. 2 weeks later, you can pop in, drop 2 cards off. Like, we have a sheet that you fill out. We reach out when it's back from grading. So that would be, what I would say. If you're doing it on your own, you might have to meet some submission minimums.
Gotcha. So yeah, like for me, like if Hudson had one, it'd just go over to you guys and be like, here you go. This is what Hudson wants graded.
And then we'd reach out and let you know. Yeah.
Oh, that's really easy then. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too, because it does take a while usually. PSA is pretty backed up. It's like 3-4 month wait. So like when you submit with PSA and it takes that long, we do have our customers kind of going like, hey, where's my card? But, we don't have any control over that, obviously. We just reach out when they're back.
When did because I remember when I was a kid, grading and such wasn't that big of a deal. When did that really kind of skyrocket?
It's a good question. I mean, like before I got back into it, there was certainly some more grading going on, but it got really backed up during COVID. Just like a lot of the hobby stuff, it really popped off. I remember sending cards for the first time back in 2020 or 2021 in for grading, and it took 6 months to get back, because they didn't have the infrastructure. They weren't ready for the volume that was coming.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it really started big during COVID, and then after that, it did kind of tail off a little bit. A couple of grading companies came and went, in terms of like it being kind of a niche grading company. Really, the kings in the space are PSA, and then a tier below that, you've got your CGC, Beckett, and you could argue SGC in there as well. And they all kind of serve different purposes. To be clear, we send in with PSA and CGC. We'll also, if like you have a special case, we might be able to send in with SGC or Beckett, but we don't really offer that much. But like all of these serve different purposes. You know, CGC is more of a TCG value bump rather than like if you send your sports card into CGC. Where and same with, you know, something like tag grading. But then like if you're looking at SGC, where the best value bump is like vintage baseball or vintage sports in general. For some reason, SGC vintage sells pretty well.
Okay. Because not to interrupt, because I'll just tell you right now, because I wanted, last time I talked to you, I was like, I want that card, like just a card that is my, you know, go-to. And I finally pulled the trigger. I'm a big Don Hudson fan. So I purchased a 1955 Don Hudson Topps.
Yep.
And hearing you talk about that, SGC was the graded on there. So I'm like, okay, now that you just said that with the vintage, I'm like, okay, that makes it a lot more sense. Like, why wasn't that one PSA? But okay, that just kind of connects it a little bit. So.
And, you know, it's hard to say why with some of these, but it's just what people have gotten used to. You know, SGC with vintage, and then like, you know, PSA and BGS both have sports and TCG cachet, you know, so to speak. They both, they work for both, and they, you know, but PSA is the biggest value, you know, ad for any card if it gets a 10, you know. But like, it's also very different depending on the card. You have to kind of do your research a little bit, or at least come talk to us, because like, you know, I'll just share this, you know, a little show and tell. This is a Griffey that we have at the shop right now. It's a 1989 Bowman Griffey, so it's like his prospect card.
Okay.
And it is a PSA 9. So like second highest grade you can get, right? PSA 9. And that card is worth about $35. It's barely the cost of grading, right? So like that card right there in a 10 is worth 200 plus.
Oh, wow.
And that's why some people are sending those in hoping to get that 10. But if it gets a 9 or less, you're not even breaking even, really.
Right.
You know, so like if you're doing it on a dollar, like a value basis, that's where it's like you got to know that what you're sending in is, you know, has a chance. For what it's worth, when I look over this PSA 9, it is a really clean copy of this card. So like I understand why the person sent it in and hoped for a 10. But, you know, hard to say.
Somebody wants it. They're already chiming in. So
someone wants that.
Yeah. Somebody wants that. Griffey,
yeah. Stop on in. It's going to be back in the case after I drop it off.
So when these companies look at grades, what exactly are they looking for? So, you know, like the 10 is the perfect and the 9, is it centering? Is it cuts? Like what are these different things that they're looking for? Because maybe from my eye, I'm like, that looks like a perfect card.
Yeah.
But it might be an 8 or something.
Yeah. And it once again kind of depends on if it's, you know, for example, like vintage, you know, these rules are out the window. But like on modern and stuff like that, you're looking at, you know, corners. So are the corners on the card clean? I didn't bring a good raw card for us to use as an example, but I'll just look at this Griffey, for example. You know, are the corners of the card clean, right? Are they sharp? Are they crisp? Or do they have a soft rounded edge? Okay. So that's one of the things that you're grading on. You're also grading on the centering. So this Griffey is pretty centered. You can see that the card itself is centered nicely in the frame of the picture. You can see that this euchre that I brought in.
Nice. Yeah.
This is a 1965 Topps Bob Euchre. You can tell that this euchre card is not centered, right? Pretty obviously not centered.
Oh, yep.
So it's not really centered within the frame of the card.
Yep.
So centering is another thing. You're also looking at surface, and you're looking at edges. Now, edges is kind of like corners. Is there whitening on the edges? Is it kind of peeling up on a chrome card? And then when it comes to the surface, do you have scratches? Do you have like scuffs? Are there dimples in a chrome card or a paper card that like, is it pressed in somewhere? Is there a thumbnail indent? You know, like those are the things you're looking for to say whether something is worth grading. With sports, it can be complicated because every set is different too. So like the centering on one might look different than the centering on another. But like with Pokemon, for example, pretty simple. The back border, the front border, those are there. So how centered is it? And it's very easy to kind of check the surface and see if it's clean.
So I know you got to get going here soon, but you mentioned a little bit earlier the Kobe and the Jordan market here. Why exactly is that now all of a sudden kind of exploding? Is it Because Bam scores 83 above Cody, so Kobe's name's in the news? Or,
No, actually, this was more of I do think that right now we're in a bit of a basketball drought for product.
Okay.
Because this is just what I think. This is not necessarily why it's happening. Jordan's market, Kobe's market, these high-end guys, their markets are always consistent. I do think with the NBA stuff right now, though, there's a bit of a retail drought because Topps was, I don't think, as prepared as Panini was, because year over year they were doing the same thing over and over. Mm-hmm. There's retail product and there's hobby product, right? So like hobby boxes are the more expensive ones. They are higher end. They are what you would find at your local card shop, but not what you'd find at Target, right? Retail product is blasters, megas. I know these words mean nothing as I'm just saying them into a microphone, but a blaster box or a mega box, these are the boxes that you see at Target, right? Hanger packs, things like that. With NBA right now, they don't have any because they basically released for retail products. They released Topps Flagship and Topps Chrome, sold out of it. And since then, all they've released are hobby box products. Topps Midnight, Topps Finest, Topps 3 or whatever that is, just a crazy overpriced product. It's honestly ridiculous. So they have not released a retail level product in a little bit. And that Bowman's going to change that, which will be nice. But I think that a lot of people who would normally be putting, either money or attention into the newest product, the newest cards, are turning their heads toward, there's a Michael Jordan called a card called a Starlight Jordan, and the light is LITE because it's got like a Miller Lite logo at the bottom.
Okay, yep.
It's like an All-Star Game promo type card from, now I'm blanking on the year, but I want to say it's like 89 or 88 or something like that. And that card, I saw a sale of a PSA 3. I saw a sale for like 1,500, I think it was, right? Of a PSA, or no, it was a PSA 4. I just saw a PSA 3 go for 2,300. And it's because people are realizing the scarcity of some of these high-end Jordan and Kobe's, and they're just grabbing them up as much as they can in this sort of window of nothing else going on.
Okay.
A hobby is a very finicky, I'm going to get bored if you let me look away for a second type group.
Okay.
And so they're just buying up stuff like crazy. And it's also a snowballing thing. Like Shohei's market is probably quadrupled since January. Really? And no one really knows why, other than everyone's just trying to grab at this stuff. Okay. And so I think some people started to buy some of the high end stuff. And then all of a sudden Shohei's card market, everyone's like, oh, I got to grab me a Shohei. And now his stuff is going for, again, 3-4 times what it did 2 months ago. And I can't even really point at a specific reason other than baseball's about to start. And he's maybe the best we've ever seen do it.
Right.
But
man. And then you got I just saw, I didn't watch it, but I saw some dude, I think he's on Shark Tank, was wearing the 3 logo man as a necklace or something at the Oscars.
It's Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, that. So it's
something like that. It is what it is. I think it's really easy to just point at it and be like, that's really corny. And it is. So I'm going to do the easy thing and point at that and say it's corny. But I do think that if you're in this collecting hobby, it's a cool sort of to see those big cards in the wild, but also someone like him, he's out there saying, well, it could be worth $30 million now. And everyone's like, where are you getting that number? There was a public auction, 4 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever that says otherwise, So it's just people like that who are just in it financially. I'm not saying that they are that they aren't allowed to be in it for that purpose,
right?
But they aren't really the people that speak for the collectors. I think that's very much how people around the hobby feel.
Right. Man, we could go on and on and on.
We really could.
For this stuff. So, but you're going to be coming on more often now too. So that's going to be exciting, and we'll definitely not have a shortage of topics.
Yes, I know. We'll definitely have something to dive into. I came in today I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. And then I just talked at you for 30 minutes.
It goes by fast, doesn't it?
It does. It sure does.
Really quick again, if you want to get that AJ Hawk rookie patch card, just text in the answer to the trivia question. Who is his famous brother-in-law? And we got quite a few of you chime in with the correct answer. So I'll tell you who that is.
All right.
Right when I shut the mic off.
Sounds good.
Again, text those on over, 715-830-1912. Slab Factory hours again. Where can people find you?
Yeah, just some fun news. We will be opening on Mondays in the summer, which is great. So we'll be
Nice.
open every day of the week in the summer. But
Okay.
until then, we are open at noon Tuesday through the weekend, or on the weekend we're open at 11, and then we close at 7 or 8 depending on the night. Check our hours on Google. But yeah, you can stop in with cards that you want to grade, cards that you want to ask questions about. You know, we will answer questions all day for you guys, and that's really the main thing that we're here for when it comes to that hobby education. So
Awesome.
yeah, stop in at Slab Factory.
Tyler, thanks, man. Appreciate
All
it.
right.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course, Dan. Thank you so much.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Back with plenty more coming up after these quick words. Tax season is here, and what about that refund check? Hey, it's more than just maybe some extra spending money. It's an opportunity. So this year, why not invest it right where you live? Upgrade your home with a beautiful new floor from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Whether you've been dreaming about some warm, comfortable carpet, maybe some durable luxury vinyl planks, how about the Rigid Max flooring or some waterproof options perfect for those busy families? Maybe you're redoing the man cave because you got a huge card collection. And, well, yeah, you need to upgrade that floor. Hey, Carpet City Flooring Center can help you out. Your tax return can go a long ways towards transforming the look and feel of your home and your space. And at Carpet City Flooring Center, you'll find expert guidance, professional installation, and flooring options for every budget. Don't let that refund disappear on things you might not remember next month. Put it towards something that you will see and enjoy every single day. Stop on in to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and turn your tax return into a home upgrade that you will love for years to come. Again, a big thanks to Tyler from Slab Factory for joining us for our Wednesday Inside the Hobbies segments. We're going to be catching up with Tyler every, maybe like once or twice a month for our Inside the Hobbies segment. So hopefully you all enjoy that, just kind of change of pace. I mean, it's the sports world, right? Collecting and such. So a lot of you that said, hey, we should do something like that. So, but if you got any questions for Tyler next time, send them on over. 715-830-1. I'm getting sidetracked. 715-830-1912, excuse me. So, because we've got quite a few texts coming in for that AJ Hawk rookie patch card that Tyler just donated. Trivia question for you to get entered to win this, because we got a lot of you with the correct answer. So we're going to put you in a random generator. The order that you texted in, that's going to be your number. I'll put all those numbers in, and it'll just randomly pick a number. But the trivia question, if you want a chance, who is AJ Hawk's brother-in-law, famous brother-in-law? All right. Text the answer on in to that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Good stuff, though. Big thanks again to Tyler for stopping by. I think I learned something new every time about all that stuff. So continue to send me your Mike Star markets. Am I wrong? I saw Brandon on YouTube a little bit earlier chiming in and saying, let me scroll it up so I get the right one here. But Brandon says, am I wrong? All Big Ten Final Four. Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Michigan States. All right. Is that what you're doing, Brandon? Is that what you're doing on our bracket challenge on Sports Talk? I hope so, man. Do it. All right. Keep sending those out. Am I wrongs? Also, your Hy-Vee game changers. All right. Who's your game changer? What was your game changer? You can make your picks from maybe the World Baseball Classic. Maybe it was a trade. Maybe it was a free agent move or whatever the case may be, or play. What was your game changer? All right. Submit those on over too. Like I said, we got to play a little catch up here as we're a little bit past the bottom of the hour. So we're going to be taking a break here in just a minute or two. But I do want to get back to some more baseball talk here. For all of you who did watch the World Baseball Classic, thumbs up, 2 thumbs up. Are there any changes you'd like to see going forward? How much did you enjoy it? You like it? Love it? Get rid of it? Give me your feedback. If Rob Manfred got a hold of you, got your number, and said, hey, man, or hey, girl, what would you like to do different? What do you think we need to do different? Is there anything? Would you say, this is what I would do different? Or would you say, man, keep it the same. This was awesome. Same. What would you tell Rob Manfred? All right, we'll take a quick break and then get back on track here a little bit time-wise. So we'll be right back after these quick words. Join us this Friday, just a couple days away, as we will be at the VFW Post 305 for a little hoops skip day action. We'll do the program from 6A to 10A over at the VFW Post 305. And then the fun starts, the real fun starts, from 11 to 3. The party starts, I should say. We got some free beverages. We've got some prizes to be handing out, all while we kick back, relax, and take the day to watch some college hoops. So, or maybe state basketball too, because that's going to be going on. Men's boys high school state basketball will tip off starting tomorrow. So, but some of the games will be on during the same time too on Friday. So, if you have the day off, like I know a lot of people usually take the Friday off, maybe even Thursday and Friday off to watch some college basketball, looking for somewhere to post up and hang out and watch the games, you can join us at the VFW Post 305, located 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Continue to send me those answers. I will announce the winner. I'll announce the winner for this AJ Hawk card coming up in the next hour. All right. So the deadline to chime in with your answer, to text it on in, it's going to be at 9 o'clock. That way I have time to put all your numbers in the random generator, and that way it'll randomly pick a number and such. So, we got Mike says, the World Baseball Classic is unbelievable. It has never disappointed. It's enjoyable to watch the pride teams and fans have. Every game feels like Game 7 of the World Series. I wouldn't change a thing. Well, I would find guys like Bryce Harper for making statements that it's not the Olympics, but even he could not deter how much I enjoyed it. Baseball is king. Another texter, don't have a name, says simply loved the WBC. So, well, you can tell Bryce Harper still was in it. I mean, if you watch the awards after the game and they were presented the medals, I mean, he got the silver medal placed over him, and he took 5 steps and took it off right away because he was definitely disappointed and such, like a lot of those players were. But I agree. It was the atmosphere, and I'll keep saying this. You get players to buy in, you can tell. Players aren't buying in. They don't really care, i.e. all-star games, NBA, and football. Fans don't really care. But when players buy in and they care and they go out there with the purpose to win and play their butts off to win, yeah, you get results like that from the World Baseball Classic. Am I wrong for saying, if we just look at tournaments, playoffs, in every sport, Olympics, whatever you want to throw into this thing, not regular season games. We'll throw in World Cup. We'll throw in all this stuff. Am I wrong for thinking that World Baseball Classic is a top 5 world event or just, sports event? Take away regular seasons. So take away the Major League Baseball regular season, the NHL regular season, NFL regular season, NBA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Am I wrong for thinking World Baseball Classic is a top 5 event? If you had to come up with your top 5, I might have to write this down for a podcast episode, but if you could come up with your top 5 sports events that are not regular season, and let's take away like the draft, and let's just take away that, like, competition wise. So you could throw in the Masters if you wanted, because that's an event. It's a 4-round golf tournament and such. But what would be your top 5? I would have to think about that for a little bit, so I might make that a pod. But send me your answer so I can include them on an episode. What are your top 5 sports, tournaments, playoffs, events that are not regular season, and they're not things like the NFL draft? Like competitive things. I think I would have the World Baseball Classic, I think, in my top 5. March Madness would be in there. You could throw the NFL playoffs / Super Bowl in there if you want. Baseball playoffs, World Series, World Cup, Olympics, winter, summer. What else are we going to throw into this for consideration? College football playoffs, Little League World Series, College Baseball World Series, softball. What other one should we throw into this for consideration for nominations? What do you got? Maybe if we have to, we can narrow it maybe to the top 3. We should have plenty of stuff. I mean, you throw in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you hear everybody all the time. And I agree with this. Stanley Cup playoffs are a different animal, man. I know a lot of people, and I'm kind of guilty of this too, but I know a lot of people that casually watch regular season when it comes to the NHL, but when it gets to the playoffs, boo. Like my buddy, my best friend Jake, and I remember this in college all the time. I don't know if I probably could count on one hand how many times he watched a regular season hockey game, but if it was playoffs, dude would pass out on the couch watching playoff hockey. And that was just like his like playoff hockey, Stanley Cup hockey. And I get it. I totally get it. It's different. But I think, World Baseball Classic, I'm hooked. It's always been good. It's always been some great moments. But for some reason, like this year, and maybe it's just because I watched some of the games with my kid, and he got hooked to it and excited about it. Maybe because part of it, too, is like, hey, had some Brewers making big plays or being big parts of these teams. Had a little bit of like, oh, that guy's on my favorite team. It was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I don't think I would change anything. I really wouldn't. Maybe the only thing is, do you try to find a manager who is like a former manager or maybe a bench coach or something like that? Maybe. No offense to DeRosa, but is that something you look for? So, and that's the thing is like, my kid, he's only 8. He'll be 9, but he was cheering for Team Venezuela last night. And before anybody jumps down my neck, it's because his favorite player, Contreras, was on Team Venezuela. So that's why he's more of that mindset yet. Oh, that's my favorite. And then Jackson Cheerio's on a team. Yeah, I'll cheer for her. I know Bryce Strang's on Team USA, Dad, but my favorite players, Contreras, and Jackson Cheerio is one of my favorite players too. So and Contreras' brother's on there too. So I'm going for. I have no problem with that. He's doing it for the love of the game because that's the players he loves and such. So it was just cool to see him get pumped up and such with that too. So all right, we got to take our final break. But think about that. Like, what are some of your favorite sports events that are not regular season? Like, throw in the Winter Olympics, throw in the Summer Olympics, throw in the World Cup, throw in World Baseball Classic, college football playoffs, March Madness. What are like your top 3, top 5? Let me know, all right? Take a quick break, and we'll wrap up the third hour coming up after these quick words. Looking for reliable auto service right here in the Chippewa Valley? Hey, you got a couple options, and they're right here in Eau Claire, and they're both AJM Automotive with 2 convenient locations. AJM Automotive makes it easy to get the care that your vehicle deserves, whether it's routine maintenance, brake work, engine repairs, or diagnostics that you can trust, maybe even a new set of tires. Friendly experts, honest advice, quality service. That's what gets you back on the road safely, thanks to AJM Automotive. Check out their website, ajmautomotiveservices.com, for a list of services, locations, and such. And don't forget to follow their Facebook page, all right? So, and maybe with the latest dumping of snow, it's a good reminder for maybe next year. Plan ahead and get AJM Automotive to plow out your driveway and such. Sign up for that for next year, especially after that latest dumping. How many of you did? I did not enjoy that. A lot of you enjoy it. So they provide those services as well, and they do small engine work too. So, all right, I know you're probably not thinking about that, but it's gonna get warmer here. So pretty soon it'll be lawn mowing season. Might want to think about that in the back of your mind. So, all right, got a few minutes left to the top of the hour. Again, final call. If you want that AJ Hawk rookie patch card donated to us by Tyler from Slab Factory, got to text in the answer to this question. Who's his famous brother-in-law? Who's AJ Hawk's brother-in-law? All right, text it in. And then during the news update at the top of the hour, I'll put all the people who tried. So you get assigned a number in the order that I got your text. So putting all those numbers into a random generator, and it'll just randomly pick a number, and that's going to be the winner. So simple as that. If you're selected as the winner, I'll shoot you a text back. That way I can get it to you. So, but another texter here says, after pool play, my little brother Brandon told me no one was beating the Dominican Republic. I told him I would bet him $5 if he would take Dominican, I would take the field. He said, no, baseball is too unpredictable. He ain't wrong. Right? I mean, look at Team Italy, right? What? How many major leaguers did they have, or major league experienced players up there? Like just a handful, a couple of them, and they went undefeated up until they ran into Team Venezuela. So there you go. There you go. Not everybody knows that, Bloomer Tony. Tyler, who donated this, didn't know the answer. I had to tell him off the air. So back off, man. Not everybody knows that. So trying to make it simple, too, so people could chime in and answer it in. So, okay, we'll talk some more hoops coming up your way next hour. Bucks falling last night to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's not even the worst of it. Giannis going to be missing some time again, missing at least a week with that knee injury. Now has a knee injury, a hyperextended knee. Are we going to see Giannis again in a Bucks uniform before the end of the season? What do you think? Yay or nay? According to sources, reports out there, yep, he plans on playing. He's not done. But how much do we believe that? How much do you believe that? So, I know you're just joking, Bloomer Tony. I got to give you a hard time back, all right? I got to give you a hard time back, man. You go on vacay and such, come back here and all that, you bring cold weather with you or something like that, snow. Got to give you a hard time too, man. So, all right. Yeah, good stuff. Fun stuff. Continue to send me your Am I Wrongs and your Hy-Vee game changers and such. I'll get back to a little football talk coming up next hour here too. Packers yesterday, Ed Policy announcing that Bob Harlan is going to have his name attached to the Lambeau Field facade inside Lambeau Field, which I think is absolutely 100% all deserves it, probably even more. I think he deserves more just from the NFL and the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. I think he deserves more recognition from the NFL, from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'll get into that coming up in the next hour. I'm going to make the case. There's a handful of Packers, whether they're players or front office people or executives, there's a handful of Packers that still deserve proper recognition from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Bob Harlan's one of them, and maybe at the top of the list. And I just don't know if we're going to get that proper recognition from them. So, but I think Bob Harlan 100% deserves it. 100%. We'll get back to some more of your texts coming up here, too. So we'll hit that up. I got to minimize texting because we got a few more texts coming in here for that answer for that. A lot of you want that A.J. Hawk rookie patch card. I don't blame you. So if you missed that conversation with Tyler, don't forget, we've got essentially 2 podcasts now. We got the Man Cave podcast, which is all new, original content on there. But I think I'm going to throw that interview with Tyler on there too. However, we've got the DK Show podcast, which is every hour. Every episode is every hour from the show. So if you missed hour 1, hour 1 is up right now. If you missed hour 2 is up right now. If you missed hour 3, which was a big chunk of our chat with Tyler, that'll be up here shortly after 9 o'clock. Same with hour 4. So now if you missed it, it's broken down by hours, or you could go back to the YouTube chat too, or YouTube video stream on Man Cave TV and check that out. But that is, we got a couple of those over there. So if you have a quick second, hot minute, go on Spotify, go on Apple, follow, subscribe to the pod, DK Show pod, and the Man Cave podcast too. I uploaded a brand new episode of the Man Cave podcast earlier this morning. So that is also up there for you. But send me, again, your top 3, top 5, or just your favorite events, sports events that are not regular season based. I think off the top of my head is March Madness, in no particular order right now. And I'm going to think about this a little bit more and rank them for a future episode. But I'm going to go March Madness. I'm going to go World Baseball Classic. I'm going to go Masters. Now, I know that one's kind of hard. I mean, we could throw a NASCAR race in there too, right? Daytona. Because I feel like Daytona, a lot of people, even if you're not a diehard NASCAR fan, people tune into Daytona 500. Same with, I think, the non-diehard football fans. They'll watch Super Bowl. So I'm just kind of looking for your favorite events. And the Olympics, obviously, in their summer, winter, World Cup. I'm going to go March Madness, World Baseball, Masters. If I do top 5, I got to think about the next 2. Because there's some, now you got a lot to choose from yet over there. So I got to think about that for a little bit. Those are the 3 that are at the top of my mind. And they're all like happening right after the other, right? World Baseball Classic just got done. Now we got March Madness starting. And then we've got the Masters coming up here really quick too. So, all right, 3 in. We got 1 more to go. We'll kick off the next hour announcing the winner for our AJ Hawk card. So stick around. We'll be back after these news updates. All right, here we go. Final hour kicking off on this crazy Wednesday morning, and thanks for hanging out with us all morning long, participating, hitting us up with some messages. Love chatting with all of you. I know I missed some of them, but that's not on purpose. We just have a lot to get through. So I appreciate all of you chiming in here this morning. Without further ado, we had 65 of you texting in wanting this AJ Hawk patch card. So I put 65, 1 through 65 in the random generator, organizer, whatever we want to call it. You can go to a website and say, hey, plug in 1 through 65 and give me a random number on there. So that's what I did. Okay. So and everybody, it was the order that I got the text in. Okay. So that's where we were at. The order that I got the text in. And it was number 27. So Mike. Now, if we got a few Mikes, check your texts because you then will be the winner. Okay, so if you get a text from me and your name is Mike, you're the winner. If your name is Mike and you don't get a text from me, you're not the winner. All right, I am texting it right now. All right, so if you are the Mike, because some of you texted in, I don't have a name. If you want to follow up and give me a nickname or anything so I could call you that next time you text. It looked like we had a few first-time texters, so I appreciate that. We're going to have more of this stuff, too. We're going to have more of this stuff. So, but again, a big thanks to Tyler from Slab Factory for donating that. And I've got a bunch of station swag. You know, got some stuff that we're going to be handing out on Friday as well. But, yeah, I got some station stuff that if you're all up for it, we could do more of this stuff if you want. All right. Kind of do a little trivia stuff. And, you know, we got coffee mugs. We've got scotch glasses. We've got some shirts and such. So, yeah, if you're up for it, we'll do more of that stuff. But, again, big thanks to everybody who chimed in with the answers. A lot of you know that. A lot of you knew that answer. So, good stuff. Good stuff. We've got, so I've been asking, oh, hey, how about this? Brewers just posted this. Bryce Terang named to the first team for All World Baseball Classic first team. Bryce Terang, second base. Heck yeah. That was one of the things we were talking about with the World Baseball Classic. It helped, I think, put a lot of the players that maybe you didn't know a whole lot about on a world stage, and now you kind of know them a little bit. I think, you know, for a guy like Bryce Terang, there you go. We obviously know about him. And I think, you know, he gets obviously some attention across Major League Baseball because, well, he's a Gold Glove winning second baseman. A couple years ago, he's a Platinum Glove winning second baseman. But still, you know, like when they did those shredder rankings of the top 10 players at certain positions, remember that was just a few weeks ago. It was at MLB.com or MLB Network did it. And Bryce Terang was still kind of like towards the bottom of the rankings of second baseman. It's like, what are we doing here? And I think this is just another example of him kind of showcasing the player that he is and the player that he's becoming. And right now, to see the growth of Bryce Terang, I think is one of the best stories in the last few years surrounding the Brewers is the growth of Bryce Terang. From his rookie year, where, remember, it was a little bit of a surprise that he made the opening day roster because it was like, okay, we knew that he was probably going to be on the roster at some point, but the fact that he made that opening day roster, I still remember watching the video because this is the point in time now, too, in the season where you're going to see teams release videos of the managers telling them, hey, you've made the ball club and the emotion and such. I still remember the Bryce Terang one. It was a mild surprise. So it's like, oh, okay, he made it. And then offensively, it just was not great. Sent back down, called back up. That was Craig Counsell's final year. And then it was like something clicked. And I know Counsell mentioned it his first year with the Cubs, and he mentioned Bryce Terang and the growth from Bryce Terang and really credited Pat Murphy and kind of said, you know, you can see the growth of these players like a Bryce Terang under Pat Murphy. And Pat Murphy talks a lot about the growth of Bryce Terang. And I think one of the biggest things, too, is remember, was it his second or third year? I think it might have been his third year. Because Terang struggled against left-handed pitching. And Pat Murphy empowered him. And Pat Murphy said, we're going to give you a chance. Going to give you a chance to go out there and prove that you can hit left-handed pitching. Because that was kind of the thought was, all right, every time there's a left-handed pitcher, is Bryce Terang going to be on the bench? And last night, he got a hit off a left-handed pitcher. Got the first hit for Team USA. But he took that chance. He took that opportunity that Pat Murphy gave him and just continued to get better and better and better. It is one of the best stories in the last few years with this Milwaukee Brewers team to see the emergence and the rise and the continued improvement of Bryce Terang. Now, I know on one hand, if you kind of look at it from a glass half empty approach, there's probably some people that say, yep, he's pricing himself out of Milwaukee. You're not wrong. That is probably the case. But lo and behold, the Brewers have a lot of younger guys waiting in the wings here. But yeah, he's no doubt about it. Now, to be fair, Bryce Terang is not an unrestricted free agent until 2030. So we got a little bit. But it has just been awesome to see this guy continue to just get better and better offensively. We know what he brings to the table defensively. We know this. But is it that far-fetched to say Bryce Terang offensively might be the best offensive second baseman? Is that the expectation heading into this year? I mean, you got Ketel Marte, you got other guys that are going to be in there. But I'm excited to see what else he can do. What else can Bryce Terang do this year to take that next step, to rise to that next step? He's such a fun player to watch. Fun player to watch from a fundamental standpoint. Defensively, makes some of those plays just look ridiculous and ridiculous easy. It is, say what you want about Joey Ortiz offensively. If you appreciate good up-the-middle defense and infield defense, watching Ortiz and Terang work for the Brewers it's like chef's kiss. It's awesome. You love it. And I'm not going to take that for granted going forward, but it has just been a lot of fun to watch Bryce Terang. And good for him. Going out there because, again, I think if you ask maybe it's just some casual baseball fans, you look at that starting lineup, Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Cal Raleigh, even though he didn't get the start last night. A lot of those guys. And then it gets to Bryce Terang, and they're probably like, who? Oh, okay, whatever. Good on him. Good on him and well-deserved. And, even like Team Italy, the Fisher, first-round pick from the Brewers last year. Brewers fans now probably know more about him and are more excited about him and saying, when can this guy come up? If you were paying attention and watching the World Baseball Classic, you're like, oh, this guy's going to be our future third baseman. You're excited. You're pumped. Maybe puts a little pressure on him and such, but yeah. Heck yeah. I loved it. I'm not going to stop talking about it. I love it. Yeah, Paul, if you got more cards to give away, my man, we can make that a weekly thing if you want. I think a lot of people texted in, so heck yeah. Let's do it up, bro. If you're willing to do that. So Zach says Olympics, draft, Daytona 500 for his. So all right. Let's take a quick break. But that was awesome to see that. I didn't see the whole team. I just saw the Brewers post it, so I'm going to see if I could find who the whole World Baseball Classic team is. I'll do that during the break. All right, quick break, but we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. If you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, high quality used vehicle, maybe you're using a portion of your tax return for that, look no further than our good friends at Toyson Ford. They're proud to serve the drivers of the area with some of the most popular vehicles around Wisconsin and the country. They're committed to giving drivers from across our region the best in customer service with a top-notch selection of brand new vehicles to choose from, as well as an extensive inventory of pre-owned crossover, SUV, and trucks. Plus, from the moment that you step into their showroom, you're more than just a customer. You are treated like an honored guest. I know that firsthand, too. And their only aim is to serve your needs to the fullest. So check them out today by stopping by at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard. You can also check them out online at toysonford.net. So here is the team, the World Baseball Classic All-Tournament team. Austin Wells was the catcher. Luis Arraez, the first baseman. Second base, Bryce Terang. And this is the perfect write-up. I mean, it's one sentence long. Terang might not have been as well known as some of his superstar USA teammates, but he was a key cog in the tournament, recording 8 hits in 22 ABs. Yeah. Third base, Garcia, who was the World Baseball Classic MVP. Tovar, that was at a shortstop. That's the guy like my kid is like gravitated towards, and now he like wants his jersey or cards and such too. So Roman Anthony, again, now younger guy. He was added after Corbin Carroll's injury. But this was the prospect last year for the Red Sox, came up and such. And, I mean, 21 years old, and all he did was hit a couple home runs and 920 OPS. Tatis was the other outfielder. Nori for Italy. Otani as the DH. Pitchers, Paul Skeens, Logan Webb, and then Aaron Nola. So, but Paul Skeens was fun to watch in this thing, too. That guy is just... You want to talk about guys like Bryce Terang who are probably going to continue to get better and better and better. I feel like Paul Skeens is on that path, too, which just makes it so scary. I mean, you talk about a better version of Paul Skeens. Oh, I mean, that dude is... It's scary to think about how much he's just going to be 24 in May. It is really scary to think about if he can be better. Projections-wise, this is why wins. Am I wrong here? Since it is a Mike Star market, am I wrong? Can we just maybe stop paying attention to win-loss records for starting pitchers? Because I mean, it's such a. If people just box score scout it, and they don't know anything about baseball, but they're tired of Paul Skeens talk, and they'll look it up and be like, well, dude was 10-10 last year. How good is he if he had 10 losses and 10 wins? He also had a 1.97 ERA, and his team stinks. His supporting cast stunk. And you look at his projections for this year, at least to Baseball Reference, 11-8 and a 2.43 ERA. Now, Pittsburgh, I would argue, they did some stuff in his offseason. They actually spent some money to, get better talent around him. But I think we can all assume Paul Skeens is not going to be a lifer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He can say all the right things. He can, say he wants to stay and do all that. I wonder, though, for a guy like Skeens who pitched in the World Baseball Classic and pitched at a high level and experienced, that environment. Some of those guys, they experienced it in the playoffs, and some of them experienced it in the World Series and such. But for dudes like Paul Skeens, experiencing what he just did at the World Baseball Classic with that environment, with that level of play, doesn't that just get you wondering? Doesn't that get you like, I want more of that. I want to be on a team where I can experience that. Where I can do that year in and year out. I want that. I would think so. I was just kind of curious. I was looking at Spot Track and market value right now for a guy like Paul Skeens. 13-year contract, $507 million. You're talking about $39 million annually. And honestly, I think that number is going to go up. Now, a lot's going to depend on, I think, the upcoming labor discussions and such. And, that's going to be the interesting part of how that affects contracts and such. But, you look at a guy like Paul Skeens who, he's at that awkward time where, you got a labor negotiation coming up after this season. This is a dude who is just waiting in the wings to cash in big time. There's going to be teams that are lining up. It's going to be kind of like probably the Ohtani thing, isn't it? Where you had a bunch of teams, like every team would want Ohtani. Now, Paul Skeens is probably, I think Paul Skeens will get traded before he may hit that free agent market after the Pirates. But let's say he does hit free agency. You're probably going to have teams that are just going to line up like they did for Ohtani. Now, some teams are just automatically going to be eliminated because we know that they're not going to pay for him. Brewers being one of them. A lot of teams being one of them. And it's probably going to be the same. It's going to be Dodgers, Giants, Yankees, Mets, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just curious. So he went to college I know he went to college at LSU. Where is he from originally? Okay, so he's from California. Oh, boy. Get ready for the Dodger stuff. Right? West Coast, Dodgers. Dodgers, Giants. Dodgers or Giants. Make your pick. Probably going to be, although the Dodgers got a lot of deferred money, though, too. So, but they also, that's the other, okay. Dodgers have all those prospects, second-ranked, best farm system behind the Brewers. For crying out loud, they could probably put together the package to trade for Skeens, too. That's the thing. Golly. Son of a gun. But no, he was, yeah, of course I still got the Sal free. Like, Paul, what are you talking about? It's in the man cave, man. Can't get rid of the goat. Why would I get rid of the goat, dude? G-O-A-T, goat. Sal Frelick, man. Just watch. You watch. Value those cards. Sal Frelick. Sign him to a lifetime deal right now. Brewers. Kid. Kinda, but. Oh, man. So this is going to be probably more of a thing. Do I launch it now? No, I'll do it next Monday. But we're going to do a little baseball movie bracket. We're going to get really into the baseball theme next week. So we're going to do a little baseball movie bracket challenge coming your way. So think about that for a little bit matchup-wise. Yeah, we all have our favorites, and that's probably what you're going to pick. But I'm going to make some tough matchups here, and you're going to have to make some tough decisions. So I remember one year, it was during COVID. We did the best sports movie bracket challenge. And Field of Dreams won the overall bracket. So Field of Dreams won the overall bracket, but I have a feeling Field of Dreams might not win the baseball bracket. I could be wrong. But matchup based, right? It's all going to be dependent on matchups. Like, I have my favorite baseball movie. It's Sandlot. It's the nostalgia part of it. I love the quote. I love Babe Ruth in that. Love that quote. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die. Follow your heart, kid, and you'll never go wrong. Love that. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Not just movie, but quotes all time. I don't know if it'll win. It'll all matchup based. So we're going to go really baseball heavy next week. So, and then maybe part of it too. Think about a lot of baseball stuff. Maybe a baseball player you collected as a kid, your favorite baseball player as a kid, all that fun stuff. Let's hit that up next week. So we'll do a lot of baseball stuff theme next week here. So, all right. On that note, let's take a quick break and switch over back to some more football chats with Bob Harlan getting quite the honor. And I'm going to make my case again. That guy, he needs to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He needs to be. And it's about time that the Pro Football Hall of Fame does something about it. Quick break, but we'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Brackets. Get those brackets on in. It's one of your final reminders here. You got to get it done before tomorrow. SportsTalk1051.com. Click on that Fan Cave tab and fill out that bracket, baby. So let's talk a little football just to switch it up here. So yesterday, Ed Policy talking and say that they're going to be adding Bob Harlan's name to the Lambeau Field facade. And, they have the plaza outside of the atrium, the Lambeau Field atrium. It's the Harlan Plaza. But this is, I think, well-deserved. 100% it's well-deserved. I would argue the Pro Football Hall of Fame needs to do something too. And I get it, they got a process. I have issues with the process. It gets brought up every year. I have an issue with NFL's it's not the NFL, it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. NFL not attached to it. Same with Major League Baseball. It's the Major League Pro Baseball Hall of Fame, and then it's the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So they have their processes. I understand it, respect it, and such. Don't necessarily agree with it all, but nonetheless, there's a log jam and such, but it feels like Bob Harlan still doesn't get the amount of credit, respect, due that he should from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Because, and I'll keep hammering this up, there is no Ron Wolf, there is no Mike Holmgren, there is no Reggie White, there is no Brett Favre without Bob Harlan. There isn't. It took Bob Harlan to have that trickle-down effect. And we are in such a, sports are ego-driven. We know this. There's a lot of egos. A lot of egos. And for a guy like Bob Harlan to come in and say, I'm handing off all football decisions to Ron Wolf. He's making all the football decisions here. I'm not going to get involved in that. That's his specialty. That's his forte. And to kind of set that standard going forward. That's number one. There's a laundry list of things that we could look back at when Bob Harlan was first hired and the different things that he did to the franchise for the betterment of the franchise that still have an effect on today. You look at that. Obviously, the Lambeau Field upgrades, renovations, hitting the streets, campaigning, doing all that. Obviously, hiring Ron Wolf and even after he was the main man in charge, he was one of the guys that got Favre back. That was one of the things he really wanted to see was helping usher in or helping welcome back Favre after that whole ordeal with Minnesota and the 2008 stuff. So, Harlan was a key figure in that too. But you look at, there's a list of Packers people that should be in the Hall of Fame. Bob Harlan's if he's not at the top, he's right there. Mike Holmgren, I think, 100% deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He when you compare other coaches who are in the Hall of Fame, Mike Holmgren, in my opinion, has better numbers or comparable numbers. And I think he deserves to be in there. And I think it's more than just, yes, you got the Super Bowl in there and he went to 2 other Super Bowls and such, but you look at, how the impact he had on, players, Favre, for example, and all. It's just, you have to factor all of that in there. And again, I'll keep going with this. Can you write the history of the league without any of these players? And if you really do a deep dive, these people I'm about to mention, you can't, because of the effects, the trickle-down effects that they've had on others. You can't write the career of Brett Favre without Mike Holmgren. Ron Wolf's in the Hall of Fame, and he hired Mike Holmgren, but, takes 2 to tango, right? Cecil Isbell. You're talking about, back in the 30s. If you look, I know it's almost 100 years ago now, but still, that guy belongs in the Hall of Fame. Quarterback and H-back. I mean, in a time where passing was still in its infancy and such, but he was a special player back in the day, and he is constantly always brought up, whether it's like Cliff Christel from the Packers team historian or other articles out there. He is constantly mentioned as a former Packer player that should be in the Hall of Fame. Jack Vanisi is a guy that I have hammered the table for a long time now, and he's not a name that a lot of people know, not a name that a lot of Packers fans know. But you want to talk about somebody, can you tell the history of something? Can you tell the history of this game without this person? Jack Vanisi, you can't tell the history of the Lombardi Packers without Jack Vanisi. He was the guy. I mean, scouts, front office person, personnel director for the Packers, okay? One, he was a big reason why Vince Lombardi came to Green Bay. But over his career, these were the players that he scouted and recommended drafting or acquiring, okay? Jim Taylor, Ray Nitschke, Jerry Kramer, Dan Curry, Paul Hornung, Jim Ringo, Bart Starr, Forrest Gregg. He also signed Willie Wood. That's a pretty darn good list, isn't it? I mean, for crying out loud here. What I think hurts him, and it shouldn't, is he passed away at the age of 33. He died really young of a heart attack. And it was in 1960, so really didn't get to see the fruits of his labor and see the overall success of the teams that he had a huge hand in building. Because he passed away at the age of at the age of 33 in 1960, before the Super Bowls and such. But you look at what he did in terms of bringing these talented players and really, when you think about player acquisition and general managers and such, or in this case, personnel directors, because it, like Lombardi was GM and such, but I mean, to be that guy that probably had the biggest influence in acquiring those people and was a big influence on why Lombardi came over to Green Bay. Come on now. And I fully believe that he needs to be remembered in a brighter light, in a more well-lit light, for his accomplishment, or for what he did for that franchise too. It's just, and I think a lot of it is, he passed away at a young age before those Super Bowl teams and such. That's what I feel like. So, but if you go around the Titletown district, there is a monument to Jack Vanisi. He is nicknamed the architect of the dynasty for those Lombardi teams. But it's kind of at the entryway to the new Titletown district. So, and it was actually, just reading a little bit more, the project was commissioned and paid for by Jack Vanisi's brother, Sam. That's really cool. So, but if you're a Packers fan, do yourself a favor and just learn a little bit more about him. And if you've read the book When Pride Still Mattered about Vince Lombardi and Dave Moranis, you get to know a little bit more about him too. So, but no, it's Bob Harlan, Jack Vanisi to me are like right towards the top. Mike Holmgren, Cecil Isbell, those four are just the names that came off the top of my head of Pro Football Hall of Fame. They 100% deserve busts in that thing. Rodgers is going to get in there. We know that when his time is done, he's going to get in there. I think Devontae's on his path to get in there, but wide receivers are such log jams that might take a little bit. Heck, Micah Parsons might be getting in there too, so who knows? But, yeah. All right. We got to take our final break here. We'll get to some picks. We got some college games to pick tonight, NBA games, hockey, all that good stuff. So we'll start to wrap up things. Final call, though, if you have any more Mike Star Markets, Am I Wrongs, or Hy-Vee Game Changers and such. So feel free to text those on over, 715-830-1912, or join in on the video chat room. Quick break, and we'll be right back after these few words. All right, wrapping things up here this morning. Let's get to some picks here, shall we? Let's start off in the NBA world. We've got Golden State taking on Boston. I'm going to go with the Celtics. Oklahoma City at Brooklyn. Oklahoma City, 19.5-point favorites for that one. Portland taking on Indiana. Give me the Trailblazers. Toronto at Chicago. Toronto. Utah at Minnesota. Give me the T-Wolves. A lot of games here. Double-digit favorites here. Clippers at the Pelicans. I'll go Clippers. Atlanta, Dallas. Atlanta. Denver, Memphis, Nuggets, and then Lakers, Rockets. I'll go with the Rockets in that one. Let's do some NHL games. We've got New Jersey taking on the Rangers. I'll go with the Jersey Devils. Let's go Pittsburgh at Carolina. I'll go Carolina. Ottawa, Washington. Give me the Capitals. Dallas, Colorado. Yep. Dallas, Colorado. I'm going to go with the Avalanche. St. Louis and Calgary. We're going to go with St. Louis. And Philadelphia taking on the Anaheim Ducks. I'll go with the Anaheim Ducks. So let's do some. Only got a couple games here for college basketball. We got, let me bring it up here. Prairie View versus Lehigh. I'll go Lehigh. And then Miami of Ohio versus SMU. SMU is favored in this game. I'm going to go Miami of Ohio, though. I'm going to go Miami of Ohio. Maybe they're tired of a little bit of the chit-chat out there and such, but I'm going to go Miami of Ohio to win this game. So, all right, again, final reminder. Final reminder. Get your brackets in. This is the last time I'm going to remind you. Get them on in. All right? Get on over, sportstalk1051.com, and click on that fan cave tab and get your brackets in. Final time I'm going to remind you. Final time that I'll be talking about it. And probably for some of you, like, finally, I get it. I understand. I want a lot of people in it so we can have a little fun with this. A little trash talk back and forth and that. Let's get this thing going. Love that. So, but all right. What else we got? So coming up tomorrow, here's your homework assignment, peeps. We got a little takeover Thursday. Okay, a little takeover Thursday coming your way. So think about some topics that we should hit up, that we should talk about tomorrow. It's your chance to be a producer, get your input. So if you think, you know what, let's throw this out as a topic for the rest of the armchair MVPs or the Section 105s out there. All right, send that on over. Text it, easiest way. Okay, so we'll hit that up. Little tailgate outdoors. We'll catch up with Jake Boakes, our conservation warden buddy. So if you have a question for Jake, now is the time. Send those on over as well. Text them 715-830-1912. Also coming your way for our Thursday, we'll do a little Enough is Enough. The ASAP used auto parts. Enough is Enough Thursday. So again, that's another part of your homework assignment. What's a sports narrative? What's a sports story, thought, talking point that people are out there saying that you're like, you know what? Enough is enough. For example, enough is enough with all the Duke love. I'm not picking them in the national tournament. I'm just trying to think of something off the fly. So, but think about that for a little bit, and that's your homework for tomorrow. Really quick, WNBA news. They got a new CBA. WNBA and the Players Union reach a verbal agreement on the new CBA. So something that was talked about that maybe there was going to be a lockout or maybe it was going to be kind of ugly and such, might go on for a while. Sounds like they've agreed to a new CBA deal. Salary cap has gone up. Salary cap now is at $7 million, up from $1.5 million. Supermax begins at $1.4 million. Average salary in the range of $600,000 with a minimum around $300,000. Average revenue share of almost 20%. So now let's work on that baseball one sometime soon. Hopefully, it'd be nice to get that thing going here, and that way we get baseball next year, and not the threat of not having a season or a shortened season or something like that. But man, I hope. I'll be honest. I'm nervous. I'm really nervous with that. But all right. Yeah, I only got a couple minutes left here. So, a couple texts here. Earlier on, I asked your top 3, top 5 favorite like sports events that are non-regular season. Jim says World Baseball Classic, Summer Olympics, and March Madness. Matt says March Madness, NFL playoffs, World Series. We've got Kevin, excuse me. Kevin said March Madness, Super Bowl, World Baseball Classic, and then one more. We got Daytona 500, the Masters, and March Madness. So I got to think about mine a little bit. I gotta rank them. I might throw that challenge out to Brandon and see if we can maybe make a top 5 podcast out of it. So, but yeah. All right. Only got a couple minutes left here. So, really quick, schedule-wise, you will get, looking at the studio schedule here, Brewers are going to be on the radio today. So, been waiting to hear a Brewers game coming off that nearly 4-hour game against the Dodgers on Monday. They'll be back at it today. 3 p.m. coverage begins. First pitch around 3:10 as the Brewers will be taking on the Angels. So, just looking at the spring training schedule, you got today, you got tomorrow. Tomorrow is a late one at 8 p.m., so just a heads up. And then Saturday, 3 p.m., Monday at 6:40 coverage. I'm doing when the game coverage starts, 6:30 on Monday, and then 4 o'clock next Tuesday. And that's it for spring training because we are into the regular season. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5 more spring training games on the radio, and then we're right into the to the regular season, baby. So a week from tomorrow, man. Yeah. World Baseball Classic got me more juice for baseball season, so I'm ready to hit this thing running. I'm ready to hit the ground running on this. So, all right, only a minute left. Big thanks to everybody for contributing, whether it was on the texting line, whether it was in the Section 105 video chats, all that good stuff. Big thanks, everybody. Big thanks, Tyler, Joe, everybody who stopped by, hung out this morning. If you missed any portion of the conversation, missed any hour, remember, every hour is now up on podcast form, DK Show Podcast. Also, we got the Man Cave Podcast. New episode dropped earlier this morning. Brand new content, but I will put the conversation with Tyler in the Man Cave Podcast, too. A lot of, if you're a card collector and such, good stuff about grading. Because I'll admit it, the grading thing is confusing to me, but it's kind of cool to know that he does that over at the shop there too, just in case Hudson does have a card that might deserve to be graded and such. So, but anyways, check out both those podcasts, especially if you missed any portion of an hour or such. They are broken down by hour. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Same place, same time tomorrow morning for a little Thirsty Thursday action coming your way. All right, have a good rest of your day, and let's do it again tomorrow. See you then.